Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
You really adopted the dark. I was born in it.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Bazinga.
2 in the box. Ready to go.
We be fast.
Take it slow.
Cool.
All right, and we're recording. Welcome to the Mt.Geekmore podcast, your favorite podcast where we talk about, discuss, and debate your favorite top 4 Mount Rushmores, if you will, of your favorite pop culture subjects. Today's pop culture subject, as you can tell by looking at your listening device, is your favorite mob movies. Can you not hear anything?
There's like some weird. It sounds like somebody's popping like bubble wrap.
Yeah, I heard it too, but I'm assuming that's David.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's the headphones, dude. I think you should just take off the headphones. I think because if you're telling me
now that you put it back in, I think we're good.
No, it's fine. What are we talking about?
When he was messing with the headphones.
Yeah, he was messing with the headphone, and I was just like, all right, and that's why. All right.
Yeah, all I heard is when you put it back in, we were all right. I was like,
that's what she said.
So thank you for messing up the perfect intro, DeBona. I was at a perfect intro, man. I was batting 1,000.
This was gonna be the one.
This is gonna be the one. I am Neri Signs. With me as usual, we have Jeff.
Yo.
And we have David.
Howdy.
And back again, and for the foreseeable future, we have Daniel DeBona.
Hey, y'all.
Back from Alabama.
That's right.
All right, so
and John Wayne's with us today too. Awesome.
The ghost of John Wayne. Even in death, he overacts. All right, so
hey, you take that hating somewhere else, man.
I actually pressed that button because I thought it was clapping. I thought it was applause, and I forgot that I changed it to John Wayne. All right, so we're talking about mob movies. We're talking about organized crime movies, not gangster movies, and not heist movies. It has to be organized crime. So there's a lot of crime movies, but they're not organized crime. It's just like, oh, we're gonna hit up a bank, set it off. Will not be on this fucking mountain, for multiple reasons.
No Ronin.
Ronin. Ronin's a great movie, man. Damn, I haven't thought about that movie in forever.
So make sure you guys understand the difference. All right. So with that said, how did you guys select your make your picks?
Which one of us?
Let's start with the top of my phone. David is at the top of my phone. So, David?
It's nice to be at the top of something. Normally, Dave, look down.
Well,
that's how normal height people see the world.
Yeah. I figured I'd let you be on top, Dave, because since you didn't have the top bunk bed ever, I figured, you know what? Let him have it now. It's
really hard for my little corgi legs to make it up those ladders.
Man, when you said you let him be on top, I really thought the joke there was because your wife never does.
Yeah. Have you seen his wife? His wife is like head and shoulders taller than him. Like that's the only way he's always on top in that situation.
Okay. Anyway, so I thought I was not well versed in this subject area, but I found out after making a list that I had actually seen a whole lot of these, but I had only seen them like one time. So there's a few that I saw again, a couple that I saw for the first time, and overall I have really grown to appreciate this. I kind of feel like how Jeff felt when we did the Western Mountain, where he was like, yeah, I'm not really a Western guy. I never thought of myself as a mob movie or a mafia movie guy. And I got to say, I think I kind of am.
Yeah,
boy. All the fedoras, how
yeah, I don't understand how you ever, like, how this was ever a thing with you, like, you thought you weren't. Like, just knowing you and knowing these movies, you know, the fact that they originated with guys in three-piece suits and fedoras, I'm like, this is right up your fucking alley, man.
Well, I always loved those old James Cagney and, you know, George Raft mafia movies, those were awesome. You know,
Your story checks out.
Edward G. Robinson, all those guys. But as far as movies after the 1940s, mafia movies after the 1940s, I always considered my knowledge of it quite limited, and in fact, isn't quite so limited. I'm looking at this list now, that a lot of these I saw well before doing this. So that's pretty much how I made this. Kind of took inventory, saw some again, and I want to say maybe about 10 movies is what I saw.
Okay.
Over the last couple of weeks.
Nice.
All right, Debona, how did you come up with your list?
So how I came up with my list was I filled an entire page with notes about just ones that I love. Then was immediately able to eliminate a couple when we said it was organized crime, not gangsters. So I took off New Jack City and some stuff like that. But
love it.
I've just got this right now. What I'm looking at is this big nebulous thing where a couple are designated as honorable mentions. My 1 and 2 are very clearly labeled, and the rest of it is going to kind of be audibles and game time choices. Doing this list came at a great time for me. I've got this on the mind. The wife and I are in the middle of a rewatch of Boardwalk Empire.
Oh, nice.
We never finished Boardwalk Empire, so we had to go back and start it again. And so I was really, the timing on this was perfect. I was really feeling these. I'm also going to go on record as saying, as the Italian guy on the podcast, everything all of you are going to say is racist and
Mercancini. Two of us, my friends.
Beebity bobbity? I mean, it's clearly three of us. Beebity bobbity boobity.
I may or may not have taught my son the hand gesture today. He's obsessed with Mario, and I just taught him that.
So I've got a solid 1 and 2. I've got some great honorable mentions, and then I got some others that are about to get tossed around, and we'll see what comes out when you call on me.
All right, Jeff, how did you make your selection?
So, I much like David, I mean, I didn't realize how many mafia movies or mobster movies I actually had seen. It's been a long time since I've seen them, so there was a few that I had to rewatch. Most of my list is pretty much, I guess I ended up making the list trying to limit duplicating Italian mafia, Irish mafia. So I have like one of each. And then I have one which it's been very fluid, and it's going to be a game time decision that I'm putting one comedy in. I know, and I preface that I know that there's movies that are genuinely better at serious films in the mafia category, but there are some great comedy mafia movies.
Agreed.
So I felt and mob movies, so I felt they needed to have their place as well on the list. But before people kill me, because I saw everybody's list online were very serious and official, except for a couple. That when I do my pick.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm never a fan of the phrase serious movies because, comedies are movies. They're still movies. It's like, I don't like when the conversation gets into oh, but that's an animated movie. Like I call Spider-Verse the best superhero movie of all time. And people always, oh, but that's animated. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. It's the best movie.
Right.
I don't give
right.
I don't care what medium it's in. It's still fucking I don't care how it was, produced. It's still the best movie. So that's the way I see comedies as well. I see comedies, and maybe just because I'm a comedian, but I see comedies as, they're a good comedy is still a good comedy, still a good movie.
Right.
So is the way I've seen it. But with that said, I know this is my wheelhouse. This is for as long as I can remember. I've always loved mob movies.
See
what
yes,
I did
sir.
there? See what I did there? Thank you, sir. But with that said, I know that there's no list that I'm going to be happy with. Absolutely. There's no list that I'm going to be happy with, and there's no list that I'm going to... So we've said this before about a few different of the mountains throughout our time in Geekmore. I've said there's no right list and there's no wrong list. You can't go wrong, and you can't get it perfect. There's no way of getting a perfect list here because there's so many great options. So with that immediately alleviated a lot of the pressure, and I was like, here's what I want to pick. I will say this, as I'm talking right now, as you guys were talking, I've decided to make a self-made limitation, a rule, and that's I'm only going to go with one movie per director. So
I did make that rule myself because I felt like this could very easily be an all Scorsese or an all De Palma Mountain, and I decided go with one from each. And one
Scorsese, has he made a mob movie? Am I pronouncing it right? Scorsese. Yeah.
Yeah, I will kind of unwittingly impose that rule on myself too. As I kept going, it was like I'd look at this one, I look at that one, I'd be like, well, I'm going to pick between these two because I don't want them both to make the list.
Right.
Yeah. I agree. So that's what I've done. And again, it's only because just to make it easier on myself, because it is what it is. So that's that. Let's start off
With the fourth pick.
Number 4.
Round 4.
I'm in no mood for your wives' crack. Let's get it on.
All right, let's start off with Dave. David, what is your number 4?
My number 4 is a movie that I saw for the very first time in preparation for this mountain, and it's a movie called Bugsy.
Bugsy.
I've never seen Bugsy.
Honorable mention for me. It almost made my mountain.
Yeah, this is the movie of Bugsy Siegel, Benjamin Siegel.
Oh, that Bugsy. I thought it was the other Bugsy. I'm sorry.
Wait, are you talking about the one who raps with DMX like in the mid '90s?
Yeah. They did some brave casting. Brave casting.
It was way ahead of its time, this version. I mean, crazy.
I say that, Neri, because there is another Bugsy. There was Bugsy Moran, who was one of the guys who was in a feud with Al Capone back in the late 20s. So this is a different Bugsy from about 20 years after that point. So it was kind of developed by Warren Beatty, who starred as Bugsy. And it tells the story of how he has heat put on him in New York. And so he goes out to Los Angeles. He goes out to L.A., he's friends with George Rapp, who was a big-time actor back in the 40s and the 50s. And he was known to have connections in the criminal underworld. So he goes out there and he tries to establish some sort of money-making scheme for the big bosses back in New York. From there, he kind of gets involved in the development of Las Vegas with the Flamingo Casino and Hotel, and ultimately his sort of mismanagement of everything and his life of excess leads him to his murder. Right?
Spoiler alert.
I mean, 70 years later, so it is based on. Annette Bening, plays
mostly hot Annette Bening.
His paramour here.
Okay, hold on, I'm on it.
like prime Annette Bening is in this movie.
She really is a knockout in every scene. She's a great actress too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is good. Annette Bening.
I like the way he said it too. You said it like the stereotypical dude. She's a good actress too. I don't know if you know. She's just not a pair of tits. She's not just a pair of tits. She could actually act, guys. Fucking Annette Bening, dude. Like, have some more respect. Put some respect on her name, dude.
She's going places. I mean,
I'd look out for her in the award season coming up. So,
but no, I saw Bugsy for the first time in prepping for this too. I saw it before Dave did. I was like, dude, you got to watch this movie because it's Warren Beatty. I mean, it's Warren Beatty. Warren Beatty is incredibly charismatic. Him as Bugsy, is just really cool and really like and. Christy, she's the one that recommended this because she loves this movie, and she told me, she said,
okay.
This is where I got more interested in learning about how Las Vegas actually was created. because he was one of the key folks in actually doing it in real life. Right. And it's cool the way that they do it. And like you see him having his illusions of being a Hollywood star and like, you know, trying to fit in and doing all. I thought it was great.
It was interesting how there's obviously a lot of mafia movie and mobster movies where the focal point is the American dream, right? Immigrants play a big role in these movies, and that's, you know, one of the reasons why people come to the United States is to find mob movies, yeah. And
we can't get this back home, man. We need to come over here. We can't get this back home.
I learned English from Goodfellas. Fuck yourself.
Funny como, eh? Soy un payaso. ¿Qué?
Clown? Am I clown?
So you see a lot of that in this movie as well, where he's, you know, for him, it's not really about the money. It's about the dream, you know, and
lasting name for himself.
Exactly.
He wanted people to remember his name.
Yeah.
Like Fort Minor.
All right, look. So I just went and looked this movie up, and it came out in '91. So right now, what you guys are trying to convince me is the whole Dick Tracy thing didn't work out, so he had to become a gangster. That's what we're getting at right now.
Essentially.
Yeah,
essentially.
Didn't work out when he was a copper, so he joined Big Boy's group.
Yeah, when you go against Pacino and you see Pacino being a gangster, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna go.
Be right back, adding Dick Tracy to my list.
Table.
Shocker.
All right, so we got Bugsy. We got Bugsy. DeBono, what do we got for number 4, man?
All right, for number 4, like I said, I kind of unwittingly did the thing where I did one per director, so that's how I ended up making the choice for my number 4. My number 4 is the Brian De Palma movie that I picked, and it is Carlito's Way.
Table.
Okay.
All right.
So just go ahead and write it down, and we'll move on.
All right, Jeff, what do you got?
So my number 4 is the one comedy. I was back and forth between a few. Ultimately, I picked the one that I think I've watched it more than any of the other two, considering that one of them I watched it, I think, for the first time in 12 years today. So my number 4, and we can fight about this near is Analyze This.
You got something. You're good.
So Analyze This, to, you know, for those that have been living in Iraq, Analyze This is essentially De Niro playing a mafia boss who has a nervous breakdown after his basically boss / mentor gets gunned down in front of him. He finds Billy Crystal through a series of events I'm not going to spoil because I highly recommend if you haven't seen it to watch it. And Billy Crystal becomes his therapist. It's directed by the late great Harold Ramis.
One of the all-time greats.
Oh my God, absolutely. One of the just sidebar. One of the very few times I have actually shed a tear when learning about a celebrity death was when Harold Ramis died.
Yeah, you know what? Probably the same for me.
Mine was Stuart Scott.
Commentary. Stuart Scott? Yeah, but after all the setup of Stuart Scott, we're going to go, that's a tangent, but I'm with you on Stuart Scott.
Next mountain, celebrity death that made you cry.
Gary Coleman, number 1. Wait, what?
He's dead?
We have to go kill him first so Jeff can cry about it.
Not dead?
Pretty sure. Yeah, he's dead, bro. He's dead.
Okay.
He's
I
dead.
was like, wait
He
a
had an
second.
awful accident. Bumped his head on the table. It's a whole thing. Aneurysm. It's a whole fucking thing. Swear to God. I'm not lying.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a big table. It was a coffee table, but, you know, he was...
It was a Fisher Price table at a Toys R Us.
But to him, it was head, you know, same height.
What I love about this, and the thing is that they're going to be mentioned, I'm sure, either on a list or I will mention them in honorable mention if they're not on there. What I love about this is that you still have the seriousness. People get killed. People get, you know, there's people getting off. There's, you know, still the mafia meetings, the mafia bosses. There's that typical mafia side, but then you've got the comedy side of Billy. I've always loved Billy Crystal and his delivery.
I love.
And then you got him playing off of De Niro, who's trying to be the straight lace, but then De Niro has these amazing lines in this movie, like that one line when he's like, "I couldn't get up last night," and he's like, "Did you take? You know they have pills for that." He's like, "A boner." I forgot. I'm gonna butcher the phrase, but it's like a hard-on should be obtained the natural way or none at all. And Billy Crystal just looks at me. He's like, "I think Mark Twain said that." Like, that back and forth, I fucking love it.
What can absolutely never be overstated is how ridiculously funny Robert De Niro is in that movie without cracking a smile.
Yeah.
Like there are so few times where you see a guy, especially a guy that you're not used to maybe doing comedy, just deliver so perfectly in the role of straight man. It was incredible.
And what interesting fact that I was looking up on the movie is a lot of the scenes in restaurants were actually filmed in locations that there were original mob hits.
Oh, really?
So there was real life mob hits that happened in all those restaurants that they filmed at. Like they purposefully did that, except for there was one place that the mob hit.
In all fairness, and on every Italian restaurant in New York, there's been a mob hit.
That's true. The Sbarro in Times Square.
Yeah.
And ironically enough, Scorsese was approached to direct the movie and turned it down. So Scorsese wanted to get Scorsese in on this, which I don't know how that would have been.
Awful. It would have been awful.
Well, this was released, I think, the same year as Casino, so he may have turned it down because he was already developing Casino.
No.
99. I don't know.
No,
never mind.
Casino was way before.
Way before.
Yeah. But yeah, it's. I know, Neri. I know you're not a fan of this movie. You don't think it's funny, but
wrong.
I wholeheartedly disagree. I mean, I think it has its comedy in the right points. It's got the kind of sweet moments where Billy Crystal's giving him breakthroughs, even though De Niro, being the mafia guy who was raised on the guys don't cry, guys have to be tough, he reacts to them in a different way, except when he starts sobbing. There are those heartfelt moments in the movie, and like Lisa Kudrow, she's great as she's not in it like.
I fucking hate Lisa Kudrow, man. I just can't stand.
Who hates Lisa? Who hates Lisa Kudrow?
Listen, I'm normally with Neri on Lisa Kudrow because I hated Phoebe on Friends.
So you hate the same character? She's the same character in this movie.
No, she's funny in this.
No, she's not. Man, you gotta watch.
She's smart in this.
No, she's just I don't like. I'm not. And again, comedy is very subjective, as is all art. But comedy more so, I would say, lends itself to being more subjective, because what's funny to one person is not funny to the other, and nobody's right and nobody's wrong. I'm completely I'm not just saying that as a comedian. I'm saying that as a human being. I completely am aware. I know I'm in the vast minority, as I told you, Jeff, earlier in the conversation. I know I'm in the vast minority here. I'm not gonna pretend like, how can you guys but every time I hear people talk about analyze this or analyze that, I feel like Will Ferrell and what's it, Zoolander. I'm like, am I taking crazy pills? Like, what the fuck?
I didn't say analyze that.
Yeah.
This.
But no, I'm saying, but both movies are both those movies have a huge fan base, both of them, and I don't like those. I don't think it's funny at all. I love you. That's hilarious.
No, that's not Big Den.
That's.
Sorry, I muted it.
No, you didn't. We heard everything.
I don't think you did.
I heard all the video. I didn't.
Yeah, we heard everything.
That was adorable as hell.
Is that Big Daddy? I was like, that's not Big Daddy.
For what it's worth, my full-blooded Italian father, Neri, if the three of us were to go out, people would assume you were his son, not me.
All right, that's good. So yeah, Analyze This and Analyze That has a huge following. I always found the movies boring. I saw Analyze This in theaters, and I just found it super boring. I didn't find it funny. I am a huge fan of Billy Crystal. I literally was watching Billy Crystal interviews today on YouTube for the last 2 or 3 days, just watching. You know how YouTube is like, you might like this one. I'm like, God damn it, YouTube, I do like this one.
I do enjoy that.
I do enjoy another interview with Billy Crystal, and not just classic ones. I'm talking about ones that he did like in February or January of this year. So I'm a huge fan of Billy Crystal. I'm a huge fan of De Niro's movies. I think as a human being, he's just super fucking boring. He gives the worst interviews of all time. He really does.
De Niro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't disagree with that.
But as an actor, he's phenomenal. I can't, nobody could say less than that. But I just didn't like this movie. Is all. I just didn't find it funny. I find myself being the David about this movie, because when Jeff and I love other comedies, David's usually the one that goes, I didn't find it funny. And this is how I
do in the shadows.
Like what we do, what we do in the shadows. Grandma's Boy. He just doesn't like. He doesn't think.
Which one of you doesn't think What We Do in Shadows is funny?
Dave.
Oh, you're killing me, Dave.
Yeah, sorry.
See,
wait. I really enjoyed it. I thought that the werewolves were fun.
Okay. He likes one scene.
Two scenes. Okay. My issue with that is I don't care for Taika Waititi's acting.
Yeah, you see,
and his line delivery. I don't think that he's great, because when we do the jokes are funny.
Not when he does them. Okay.
So,
not when he does them.
To digress, to come back, I'm fully aware that this is on me. I don't find those movies boring. I find them hacky. I find them, and I say this, being a fan of sitcoms, I find them very sitcom-y comedy, like, and cue the laughter now. And it's like, ugh, I just find it forced, and I just don't find it funny.
I mean, I can agree with you on the fact that it does have that element of like the sitcom-y. But I think that's what I like.
But I love sitcoms. I love sitcoms. I just didn't like the way it worked in this movie. Again,
do you think it's maybe because for that genre, there's a certain type of because I know a movie that may be on your list I'm not going to mention that is hysterical, but it's a different type of delivery. And I just don't
like this comedy. I don't think this comedy is funny. Okay. I think this comedy is very very safe and boring. I don't think it doesn't to me, it doesn't it's the vanilla of comedy to me. This type of comedy is very vanilla and very like this will please the masses, but I'm that snob. I'm a comedy snob, so I'm just like this was not refined in the hills of and I don't go fuck. I just don't care. Right. I don't care about the movie. But again, I fully understand that I'm in the minority. I'm not saying I'm right. If anything, I get that I'm wrong. I'm willing to take that loss. I'm like, I don't get it. It's just not me.
That movie is funny, but it's not really comedy because it's not comedy unless it comes from the comédie area. Yeah.
That's exactly what you sounded like, Mary.
I'm just proud of Neri because I was totally expecting the boring or the buzzer on that.
No. I'm just because I know I know this is on me. Like, you know what I mean? When I'm like I don't think I've ever met another person who didn't like the movie. Again, I don't really talk about this movie often enough to get a fucking feedback, but I'm pretty sure.
Take a survey next time.
I'm pretty sure he's like, hey, remember that movie that came out 15 years ago? What do you think about it? Huh? What do you think about it? You want to talk about it now?
He's about to do 5 minutes on it in his next
I don't care. Like, it just doesn't, I find it, whatever. But I get it. I'm in a minority, dude. But I'm glad you guys like it. That's all that matters. That's all. I love you.
Man, I wish that had been his response when we were talking about The Searchers.
About which one?
The John Wayne movie?
Oh, no. That's different. That's very different. Searchers.
The John Wayne movie that everyone loves and says, hey, it might be the best Western of all time.
Yeah, it's so weird how people are wrong. So very weird.
It's because this was your pick, Jeff.
It doesn't. It has nothing to do with that. He loves Searchers too. He Searchers as well. I don't know if there's a Searchers too. Searchers too.
I like the boogaloo.
Searchers too.
Isn't that the search for Curly's gold?
Yeah.
Searchers too. We still looking for this bitch. That's hilarious.
Searchers 2.
The Natalie Holloway. The Natalie Holloway story. Searchers 2.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Searchers 2. Still searching.
Yeah.
I was going to make a joke after that, but that was too good.
Searchers 2, starring O.J. Simpson.
Searchers 2, the juice is loose.
Oh, shit. All right. So to keep in the vein of comedy, my number 4, I'm gonna go with a movie that I've loved from the very first time I saw it as a child, and I've loved this movie. I think it's made my mountain on other topics, and I forget what other topic that was. But my number 4 is the Sylvester Stallone movie Oscar.
And that's the movie I was referring to.
Yeah.
Where I knew it was either going to be on his mountain or an honorable mention.
It did make your Stallone mountain.
It made, it should have made my Stallone mountain. It should have made my 1991 mountain if there was whatever year that movie came out, and if we did a mountain about it, it should have been on that mountain too. I can't say enough about this movie. I paid full price for that movie. It was $17.99, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'm buying this movie. I love that fucking movie. I've owned it in multiple formats. I owned it on VHS, on DVD, and now on digital. And whatever the next format is, brain implant, I'll fucking buy it on my brain implant. I truly enjoy everything about that movie. Debona, have you ever watched it?
I don't know that I have, actually.
So it's
that's why I was just trying to look it up and see if I have. I don't think I've seen it.
That was the other movie that was between that and Analyze This for my number 4.
Yeah.
The thing, and what I was mentioning before, Oscar is very much like Clue. It's the same pacing as Clue. It's the same kind of format as Clue, which Clue is one of my favorite freaking movies. I love that movie. So, but Oscar is just brilliant. Like, just Stallone as the guy trying to go straight, and like you got Marissa Tomei, you've got Chaz Palminteri again because he does everything.
It's so good.
It's such a good movie.
He's what's his name from the original clown from It? What's his name?
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry as the diction teacher.
The teacher. He's in the movie. It all takes place in one day, which for some reason I like movies that all take place in one day. I've just come to know that about myself, learn that about myself recently. But everything it's a smart comedy. Even though it has some elements of slapstick, it's still not a dumb comedy.
Right.
It's fast paced. It's great, man. It does great callbacks to itself later on in the movie. The story's fantastic. I would highly recommend you watch this movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Debona, if you have an Apple TV, I don't know if you have an Apple TV, but I could give you my login and you can log in, and we have, between Dave and I, we have every movie that we
I have 100 movies, but they have like 7,000. So.
No, we're a Roku family, so I appreciate it.
Well,
But no, I'll definitely check it out. There's a movie that's in my honorable mentions that I think might be strikingly similar. The one in my honorable mentions I think is more parody than this one seems to be from looking at it. But I'll definitely check it out. I love it.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a parody, because it basically the general idea, Debona, is that he wants to go straight, and the main thing is that he's meeting with a bunch of bankers because he's going to buy in to be a partner in the bank, because he's deciding to not be a mafia boss anymore and to go straight. And that's what the underlying story is in Oscar. But then there's that series of unfortunate events that happen, people coming in and out. It's very. I would, like Neri says, I don't think it's slapstick, but it's like the Clue. I think Clue's the best reference to it.
I don't know, man. I call it slapstick.
Wikipedia listed as slapstick.
Yeah. I think this is slapstick.
I think it has.
Always surprised me because Neri, you're not really a slapstick guy.
I don't think I consider this movie that's why I said what I said about it before. I think it has elements of slapstick. I think there are some slapstick gags to it, but the whole movie itself, overall, I don't consider it slapstick. I consider this movie it's a smart. The slapstick is the physical comedy. Like, there's some physical comedy to it, and it's funny, and I get it.
Would it be would Chaz Palminteri watching the door? Is that like slapstick?
Yeah.
To me,
okay.
I don't find that slapstick. To me, what I find slapstick is Chaz Palminteri when he goes, fork it over, and he has 1,000 weapons on him, and he has a fucking mace.
That too.
That to me is it's so fucking funny. He has a mace.
So
the fucking guy has a fucking.
You have to watch this movie.
Oh, it's so great. But again, that's not all the comedy to it. There's more to it.
Right.
There's misinterpretation of words, which is definitely definitely not what slapstick is, and it's a whole thing, man. So, but I think there's definitely slapstick elements to it. I wouldn't categorize the whole movie as slapstick. But again, it's great. This is not a dig at slapstick. There's nothing wrong with slapstick. The Three Stooges were slapstick.
Aren't you I was gonna say you're a Three Stooges.
Three Stooges were slapstick, and that's fucking hilarious. I don't, I'm not against slapstick.
I can't believe that Oscar is only 12% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, it's still higher than Sister Act 2, so there's that.
And rightfully so.
And
Why do you know what the Rotten Tomatoes rating of Sister Act 2 is?
Because it's a fucking crime. It's a fucking crime that Sister Act 2 is at fucking 7%. What the fuck, bro?
But you're happy that Mighty Ducks is at 13%.
I'm not happy. I understand it. I never said I was happy. I just understand.
Exactly.
I understand how it's at 13%. You're watching it through fucking kid eyes, and it's a great movie for a kid. But if you're watching,
rewatch that movie as an adult, sir.
Yes, but you first fell in love.
Disney Plus. Hey kids, welcome to Mighty Ducks.
But you first.
Now let's go beat Iceland.
That's part 2, my friend. That's part 2.
That's part 2 with Pedro Mendoza from Miami, sir. That's why I support that movie.
And
on ice.
And
you talking about Betty the Jet Rodriguez on ice skate?
Yeah.
And
pretty much, yeah.
And shout out to future fucking meth heads, huh? Am I right? Correct? Huh?
Hey, Goldberg.
So my missing teeth are going to be replaced with.
My number 4 is Oscar. So for number 4, we had Bugsy, Carlito's Way, Analyze This, and Oscar. So that's what we have for number 4. Moving on to number 3.
Round 3.
3 is a magic number. Yes, it is.
All right, so
I get so hyped when that audience counts out that 3 count every time.
So, Dave, what do we got for number 2? For number 3, I'm sorry.
My number 3 is a movie that I finished watching about an hour ago, and it's one that I had been wanting to watch for a while, and had never got around to it, and then finally, when we were doing this mountain, I was like, "Oh shit! All right, so I should probably get around to this one." Completely forgot. I laid down to take a nap after I finished all my work today, right? 2 minutes after I lay my head down on my pillow, Jeff gives me a call, right? He's like, "Hey man, so let's talk about some popular movies." And so as we're talking, I realized I never got around to watching this movie. I jump out of bed, I'm like, "Fuck this nap. I gotta go watch this movie now." I am so happy that I did, because this movie was fucking awesome. It's called The Yakuza. And
yes,
it's a 1975
honorable mention.
Is it awesome?
Yeah.
Oh, great. So it's a 1975 neo noir thriller that is all about Robert Mitchum, who's one of my favorite actors from back in the day, going to Japan to rescue one of his oldest friend's daughters, who's been taken by the Yakuza. And so he goes over there. There's a whole bunch of twists and turns in the story. We also
call that Wolverine issues 5 through 15.
Right.
You know that story.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a whole bunch of twists and turns in the story that's very reminiscent of the guy who wrote the final script, Robert Towne, who's the guy who wrote Chinatown, which is one of my favorite movies. And all in all, it's such an amazing look at why Japanese culture is so different from American culture, but also how different mobs and different mafias have their own codes of honor.
That is the hugest takeaway from this. Right here in America, when we watch mob movies, what we get is we get Irish mob, we get Italian mob. You get a couple of others, but that's where the focus lies. That's what we know in America as a country of immigrants. It's those people came in, that's what they did. When you watch Yakuza, you get this absolute, completely different feel for what a mob can do for their neighborhood, for their area, and how they run and how they do everything there is that's involved just with their culture and the way. One of the things that can't be understated about this movie is Paul Schrader was actually one of the writers on this, the guy who did Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Last Temptation of Christ.
He developed it.
Yeah. I have this as an honorable mention because it's weird, but it's great. It's just a fantastic watch. I'm so happy somebody actually.
There's a conversation that Robert Mitchum has with the young guy who comes with him to Japan to help rescue this girl, and that young man who has never been to Japan before is completely enthralled at how opposite the cultures are. And he says something to the effect of, he's like, did you know that when the Yakuza use when they use a katana, they chop totally differently from us? He goes, we chop like outward. He goes, they chop inward. He goes, did you know that when they use a saw, right, they press like towards themselves. We press away from ourselves. He's like, is everything here the other way around? And he says, yes. And you start realizing, because of different associations that are going on with people in America, that's a good thing, that there's so much honor and so much loyalty and so much beauty in the Japanese culture, even in their organized crime.
Was that wait?
Yeah.
Are you confusing this with Karate Kid 2?
That's what I thought.
Oh my God! Does Cobra Kai count as a mob?
No, they're the good guy. Well, I guess if you think the mob are the good guys.
There's this incredible scene in Yakuza where one of the characters goes to commit traditional suicide, which I'm probably about to massacre how you actually pronounce it. It's seppuku.
Yeah,
and
it's
his
pronounced
brother talked him out of it.
bukkake.
And his brother talks him out of it, and so then, like, the only way that he can wrap his head around living, but not committing traditional suicide, is he chops his little finger off, and it's just this. God,
it's such a beautiful scene.
It's gorgeously done.
Which kind of leads into the very last scene of the movie, where I was moved to tears, and the acting was so good, so solid. Particularly in that last scene, that I was like, geez, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, even if you have very limited knowledge of Japanese culture, it's still an absolutely amazing watch.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Well, I'm gonna watch it now when I can get a chance to sneak away from the house. Because I was like, oh, let me start watching this. And then my kid walked in. I'm like, yep, I can't watch that. Let me watch this. Nope, can't watch that.
Having kids.
Sorry, I just can't forget about, Pearl Harbor that easily.
Jesus.
Well, that's actually one of the focal points of the movie.
I just love the fact that you were like, I brought up that thought, that joke came to mind when DeBono goes, even people who have limited knowledge of Japanese culture. And I just thought to myself, like, that's the kind of idiot that's like, remember what they did in Pearl Harbor? I ain't watching no fucking movie with no Japanese, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, Jesus, calm down. Anyway, so Yakuza, all right, good to know. Good. And this was 74, correct?
75.
Okay, let me go edit Wikipedia now. Because Wikipedia says 74. All right.
Oh, iTunes, Apple said 75.
You know what? Fuck you, Wikipedia. You don't know shit. DeBono, what do you got for number 3?
You literally can go edit it. That's how Wikipedia works.
Yeah, I know.
All right. So, like I said at the beginning, I've got this really nebulous list. And so at this point, I'm throwing caution to the wind, and I'm going to put one out there. Normally what I do with my number 4 pick, but I actually do like this movie a little bit more than Carlito's Way. And I'm going to just throw it out there. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't. If you haven't, I highly suggest it. 2012 movie called Killing Them Softly.
Dude, I started watching that movie a year ago, and just life got in the way. I watched like the first 10 minutes of it. I had Brad Pitt wasn't even in the movie yet. And
oh, that's that Brad Pitt one. Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out which one it was. Okay.
So Killing Them Softly is this movie about a small-time crook who robs a mob-protected poker game.
Okay.
And so then they go to get their money back by sending out their hitmen that are Brad Pitt and James Gandolfini.
Oh, wow.
And it's a very well put together movie. Like, it's light when it needs to be light. It's heavy when it needs to be heavy. I don't want to go too much into it if you're listening and you don't know what happened, but it takes place it's like 2008, 2009 is when it's set, and it's this incredible ride of a movie. It's a lot of fun. I know it's one a lot of people haven't seen. Like, honestly, I had toyed with the fact that if I was going to put this, it was going to be my number 4, and then I threw in a bunch of classics, but I can't leave this day without talking about Killing Them Softly. It's very, very well written. It's extremely well directed. A guy named Andrew Dominic did it. He's the guy who did the assassination of Jesse James. By the coward.
Fucking
Robert Ford.
Robert Ford, yeah.
Fucking love
Same
that
guy
film.
who directed that. Yeah. And he does this great job. Like, it's really, really heavy when it needs to be heavy. And it carries these incredible moments where these hitmen are out just trying to track down these guys that robbed this poker game.
I wonder if he uses the same cinematographer for this movie. I was in love with the cinematography from. I was in love with a lot of things from the Jesse James movie, but the assassination of Jesse, but cinematography.
But what's even more incredible about this movie is as you watch it, it's got Ray Liotta. It's got Ray Liotta in it. It's got James Gandolfini. It's got Brad Pitt. But then when you get away from those 3 names, you don't recognize a lot of faces. And when you do a lot of that. Oh God, what do I know them from? Like, that face is familiar from what? And you got to, go look up the movie and then try to track down what the character is. And you find out they play bit parts and other things. But everybody involved in this movie just absolutely acts their ass off. It's a ton of fun to watch. There's a couple of really good twists and turns that really keep you engrossed for the entire run. I don't think it was commercially a huge success. I don't think it ever got the acclaim that you get from a lot of Brad Pitt movies. 2012, I don't remember. That may have put it after James Gandolfini's death. I've only seen it in the past couple years. I don't remember exactly when James Gandolfini died. Oh, yeah, it was the year after he died. He died in 2011.
June 2013 is when he died.
2013? Okay.
Yeah.
So
looking at it now.
Okay, yeah. So it was right before he died. It was but it's a lot of fun to watch. The mob itself isn't the center of the movie. It's this weird buddy cop group of hitmen that is Brad Pitt and James Gandolfini that are the nucleus of the movie. And they're funny together when they're supposed to be funny together. I mean, there are just some really great scenes that out of context wouldn't mean anything. But so I'm just, like I said, I'm throwing caution to the wind with my number 3 here, and I'm going to go ahead and go with Killing Them Softly from 2012.
Nice, I like it.
I'm down, dude. I haven't seen it. I started watching it, and but I own it, and I don't want to watch it. I want to get to see it. So I'm glad you mentioned it. I'm glad you brought it up. Jeff, what do you got?
Oh, so it's in the family share?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, great.
Hello, yeah.
Yeah, it's in color. You should check out my account. Jeff, what do you got?
I'm pretty sure this is going to be tabled probably by Neri, but my number 3 is a movie that I never actually saw it until prepping for this episode. I always wanted to, but I never did, and I ended up loving it, and it's American Gangster.
Oh, I love that.
Honorable mention.
Definitely not gonna. Yeah, it's a great movie. I love that fucking movie.
Yeah,
so good. I'm surprised this is not on your list, Neri.
Me too. I really thought it was going to be tabled.
No, I love that movie. Like, I watch this movie at least once a year. Like, I love this movie, but I would not. I mean, again, this is a tough mountain. This is one of these I could. Yeah. There's no wrong. I'm fine with not having this movie on my mountain. Just like if I would have had it on my mountain, I would have been okay with that too. But no.
So with me, the idea with American Gangsters is, one, it's not the atypical, Italian mob, stuff like that. You've got this guy that, I mean, essentially it's kind of a mob, but not even really. I think it's even kind of a stretch for a mob. But Frank Lucas ran that area of the city,
No, man, that's a mob, dude.
Yeah, dude, I know. He absolutely was.
He organized the entire place around him so that it works better.
If you would have given those drug dealers pitchforks and torches, Frankenstein would have been fucking very afraid. That's a mob, my friend. That is a fucking mob.
And I mean, it's just the way I love the whole feel of this movie. I love Ridley Scott. It's that that type of filming that he does in his movies. That it's just I love how the scenes are set up. I love Denzel's just he's suave, and at the same time there's points where he has to be violent. In some cases he is, but in other cases it's the fear that he just puts into people. That he doesn't have to raise his voice. He doesn't have to do things. He's like, when he walks up to the guy's like, "Oh, give me the money," and he's like, "Oh, you want the money?" He just shoots the guy in the middle of the street. And he drops the money.
Oh, Idris Elba.
Idris Elba.
Idris
And
Elba.
he goes, "What are you gonna do?"
Yeah. That scene's in the whole movie.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Shoot
Come on,
me?
Frank. You gonna shoot me right here? Yeah.
And he just, without saying a word, just shoots him, drops the money, and then goes sit at the table at the restaurant where everybody else, all his brothers, are looking at him like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I love the fact that you see him. Then you've got, Russell Crowe kind of do.
Are you talking about Richie Roberts?
Richie Roberts. But they're both kind of doing their own thing without. They don't really start meddling in each other's stuff till late in the movie. In reality, like
because
midway
a fucking chinchilla fucking jacket.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy? Because of a chinchilla coat. Like he fucking his whole thing was do not draw attention to yourself.
And he had a chinchilla coat, and he was second row in the fight.
Yeah, just because of a fucking.
Which is the same thing that got people killed in a movie higher on my list.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chinchillas. Chinchillas got people killed in your fucking other movies.
Chinchilla coach, yes sir.
One of my favorite things, and this is and I texted Neri when I saw after I finished the movie. My favorite thing and why it made I'm going to be honest, probably one of the top reasons it made my mountain is the last 10 minutes of the movie. When Frank Lucas gets out of jail, Richie's the one that picks him up, and they're just walking through Harlem.
Yes,
and you're
sir.
seeing Frank like.
That's the extended version too, by the way. You saw the extended.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Because in the
I saw the extended version.
In the theatrical release, he picks him up from jail, but they don't do that long walk. They don't do that long walk through the neighborhood.
I don't know if I would have liked it as much because that long walk in the neighborhood, to me, solidified that. I mean, the movie was phenomenal all throughout, but that walk when he's seeing how Harlem changed, and he's telling Richie, he's like, "I used to run that corner. That corner right there was this." And then you see like the gangsters now walking by Frank, and Frank's like looking at him like, "Who the fuck are these people? Like, what the fuck is this?" Like, and DeBono, go ahead because I know you wanted to.
As somebody who's absolutely seen both, you're right. I enjoyed American Gangster, but when I got to see that extended version for the first time, it took the movie to another level because there's a level of depth that's established when they do that walk, and you're absolutely right. And he's looking at the kids that are now the gangsters of the neighborhood or whatever, right?
Right.
And he doesn't, and they think they're hot shit, but they're nothing to Frank and Ricky. And it's an incredible scene. And so, like I said, seeing both, I saw seeing American Gangster in theaters with the regular, and then now seeing that one. Yeah, that scene absolutely takes it to another level. I cannot imagine what editor decided that needed to be left out.
Well, it's called Ridley Scott, and he can't leave well enough alone, and he fucks every movie that he's ever made. It's like, this is gonna get my extended cut. Like he makes fucking different versions of every movie he's ever made. I forgot there was a Hollywood director that once said, we all only get one crack at a movie. Ridley gets 4 or 5 at every one of his movies.
I mean,
one of the coolest things about American Gangster is the cast is incredible if you're into B-list actors or actors that haven't done like a ton of things, right?
Or rappers.
Like, yeah, or rappers.
T.I.
Right?
Like,
Common T.I. is
Common T.I.'s dad.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Yeah.
Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Sorry if I'm talking over you. My internet just started skipping. But yeah, no. Norman Reedus, T.I., Common, all in it. Just Idris Elba, like we said, just doing a part.
Skip away Ejiofor.
Yes, and that was the one I was getting to. This is the first time I remember seeing. I can never pronounce his name. I just
Skip away Ejiofor. I know him from Serenity. That's why.
He's Baramordo. But this is the first time I remember seeing him and wanting to know who he was when I watched this movie.
Josh Brolin.
It's a lot of fun to watch. Also, the soundtrack, absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Jay-Z
did
the soundtrack. Yeah. This is the soundtrack to this movie is this is riding music for I don't know how long you've been with Geek Bro, but if you know me back from What's Good, me and my co-host Lewis, this is our riding music. If we're gonna be in a car for more than 40 minutes, then the American Gangster soundtrack goes on.
Oh fuck, that's right. RZA was in it too. I just totally forgot that RZA was there too. Fuck
that was a great scene when he was like, "Did you really give back $1 million?" And he goes, "Yeah." Does anybody have a problem with that? And everybody raises their hand.
Right.
Like, yeah, we all fucking raise our hand.
That's right. Cause he was,
Yeah, it's just the movie. The movie's a veritable who's who of B-list actors and rappers. It's got an incredible soundtrack. It's a lot of fun to watch. It tells a great American dream story, right? This guy who comes up in the ranks. It's very much the definition of what you look for in a mob movie, which is somebody who starts off with nothing and becomes everything in their neighborhood.
I think it's an absolutely great movie, and and if you read the story in real life, like Frank Lucas said, the movie's like 99% false. Like they added a bunch of stuff just for Hollywood, but Richie's one of his kids' godfather in real life. Like in real life, like these guys ended up becoming friends. And it's just that to me, the backstory of the fact that you're watching this, most of it's fake, but ultimately in the real world, they're actual friends in real life. And giving that last 10-minute scene, it just solidifies it even more.
But Zuckerberg said most of Social Network was fake too, and I think it's just because it showed everybody what a dickhole he was.
Well, Richie didn't like the movie because he says that it glorified Frank. That it made Frank nicer than what he was in real life.
I don't know. I disagree with him in that sense. I don't know how nice.
Well, you knew Frank personally.
No, which is
you would know.
This is what I was gonna say. This is what I was gonna say. Not that I would know to the fact of how nice but that movie did not. That showed how evil Frank was and with the bad things that he did, and that whole montage of when Richie was explaining to him how the drugs, because he just thought, oh, I'm just selling drugs, and he goes, no, those are affecting children, those are affecting families. And that montage of like babies and toddlers walking in on their parents who have died of an overdose, and then you see Denzel's character finally understanding, oh shit, this is not just selling drugs to drug addicts in the corner. This is like fucking it's affecting actual people and real families. I never saw that movie as a glorification of, and trust me, there's movies on this list that glorify criminal activity.
Yeah.
I never watched American Gangster and thought, oh man, that's fucking awesome. They're glorifying Frank Lucas. In fact, I thought it was the opposite. And one of my favorite scenes of this movie, which again, I adore this movie. One of my favorite scenes of this movie is when Ahmad Asante, when he has that conversation with him. When he goes into his office after they try to shoot Frank Lucas to do a drive-by, and they miss, and he goes to Ahmad. He goes, I'm supposed to be, we're supposed to be partners. You're supposed to be, protection. He goes, it wasn't me. I didn't fucking do anything. And he says, you want to go to the top. This is where you get. This is the kind of attention you can't. Once you're famous, you can't go fucking backwards. What do you want to be? Unfamous? You can't be unfamous. You could be infamous, but you can't be unfamous.
You can be infamous, but you can't be unfamous.
And I fucking love that line. I love that whole conversation because it teaches Frank Lucas at that moment that fucking he's right. He's like, Frank was like, oh fuck, I thought it was that scene to me just showed that Frank Lucas thought it was A, B, C, D. Like, this is, you follow, you connect the dots, and then he's like, no, bitch, that's not the way this shit works. You can't go to the top and not fucking get people hating on you. It doesn't fucking work that way.
Yeah, right.
And I never saw that movie as glorifying Frank Lucas. If anything, I thought he was a fucking scumbag. I legit thought he was a scumbag.
Just to drag this to TV for just a second, if you're listening to this because you love gangster stuff, I highly recommend you watch Boardwalk Empire if you've never seen it. But very early in the series, there's a moment where I'm just going to say character names. Nobody's seen it. But there's a character named Jimmy who's like an up-and-comer underneath Enoch Thompson, played by Steve Buscemi. And it's the younger guy who looks at him and he was like, look, you can't be half a gangster. Like, you've got to make that decision, right? And I think that it was very much the same feel as the you can't be unfamous type thing, right? Like, you've got to make a decision. Either you're doing this or you're not. And yeah, no, it was absolutely incredible.
I thought it was, that's my favorite scene of the movie, and I love that movie, man. Great pick, bro. I'm glad you picked it because I'm glad we're talking about it. All right,
I'm glad I finally got around to watching it.
Honorable mention.
It's funny because early on we were talking about like mob movies, and I just used the phrase mob, and he was like, "What about American Gangster?" And I was like, "No, it's not a mob movie." And he was like, "But it's organized crime." It's like, I don't understand. Like, what's the difference? And for the sake of the joke, I was like, "But he's black. It doesn't. I don't know. Like, I don't know. You can't."
No, it was like as soon as y'all spit it at me, I was like, "Are we talking gangsters?"
Yeah. I'm like, "But he's black. It doesn't. This can't be a mob."
That's the way Neri like explained it to me. He's like, it's like, gangster, not like boys in the hood.
Yeah, not gangster.
Look, y'all want to watch New Jack City Boys in the Hood? Like,
yeah, exactly.
But I
Dead Presidents, man, bring it on.
I told Presidents would be my number one on that list. I don't care if I just spoiled it for a future episode.
Who's gonna go back and listen, man? They're gonna forget.
So
I'm gonna forget, and I said it.
I was that dude, and again, I used that joke because it was the same joke that was in the movie. It's not the same joke. It wasn't a joke in the movie. In the movie, it was a real plot point where he was like, "There's never been a black guy that's been a head of a crime family." There was that scene from an FBI agent. He didn't say black guy. He said something way worse. But I just thought it was funny. I just thought it was funny as all. All right, so
King Kong ain't got shit on him.
Yeah.
My number 3 is a movie that for a long time I hated, and I talked shit about this movie, and then rewatching it for this for this episode, I thought I'd give it a shot. My number 3 is Dick Tracy. So that's
dude, that'd be great. That would be great if he's like, I'm dead serious.
I would fucking be great, but it's awful. No, that movie sucks. So no, I'm not talking about Dick Tracy.
You can suck my ass.
Yeah, I could do that too. That has nothing to do with the movie
also,
sucking.
Madonna might.
Yeah, that's Yes,
I've seen the book. I know what she's into.
I've seen the book.
What was that movie that she was into where she was a victim, but she wasn't a victim? I don't forget what the fuck movie she did with
the Ray of Light.
That's a twofer.
We just become best friends.
Yes, we did.
That's a twofer. No, my number 3 is Carlito's Way.
Yes, sir. Let's get back to it.
All right.
Go ahead.
So Carlito's Way, I've explained this to those of you who have not seen Carlito's Way. I am not a fan of Scarface. I think Scarface is a very overrated movie. I think it gets a lot of attention because of the quotable lines, which it does have plenty of those.
And because rappers love it.
And because rappers love it, and that's a thing. No, you're right. But I don't think it's a well-made movie. I think there has a lot of things that I would, as far as a director, he's done so much better in so many other movies Oliver Stone has. But I say this all to say that Carlito's Way.
That's not Oliver Stone. That's De Palma.
Brian De Palma.
Brian De Palma. I'm sorry. You're right. I say all of this to say that Carlito's Way is what Scarface should have been and is what everybody thinks Scarface is. Like, it's everything. Carlito's Way is so much a superior film in many aspects, in every aspect. But I will say on its own, without even comparing it to Scarface, I wish this is the movie that I wish more people saw. Like, I feel like when I talk about this topic to other people, to other friends of mine, they always say the same thing. Like, oh, I haven't seen it. And I'm like, dude, you gotta fucking watch this movie. And they're like, no, but I saw Scarface.
I saw it once.
Yeah.
I saw it once years ago. To be completely honest, I don't even remember. That's how long ago I saw this movie.
Neri and I were having a conversation, was it last week, where, I am a big fan of Scarface. And I saw Scarface again. I hadn't seen it in about 10 years, and I saw it again last week, and I still love that movie. But he told me that about Carlito's Way being what Scarface should be, and I kind of understand what he's saying, and there's got to be something to it, because everyone who has seen both tells me that Carlito's Way is the better version of Scarface.
Because it absolutely is. When you talk, especially like I just kind of jokingly referenced, when you talk about rappers that idolize what Scarface is, Carlito's Way is what they should be idolizing. A guy who goes to jail for 5 years for running, bullshit ass little nothing, schemes. Goes to jail, gets out, decides to clean up his life and do it the right way, still gets sucked back in. This is the guy they should be looking to, but also he's still just as badass as he ever was. The thing about, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. This is my number 4. That's why I'm getting to it now. I'm going to get real spoiler with it right now, but it's also not spoilers because the very first scene in the movie is the fact that Carlito has been shot and is dying. Then the rest of the movie tells the story of why he got shot and is dying.
Ah, they pulled the Reservoir Dogs. Okay.
Yes, but but before Reservoir Dogs, hold on.
They Tarantino'd this
was
bitch.
93.
Yeah, they Tarantino'd this bitch. Yeah.
So what's incredible about Carlito's Way is, as you watch, the very first thing you see is he's shot and he's dying. And then he starts to reflect on his life. And by the end of it, you're just desperately hoping that he doesn't get shot and die, even though it was the very first thing that they told you was going to happen.
Don't go, Carlito. Don't go there. Actually, Reservoir Dogs was a year before Carlito's Way.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Reservoir Dogs was 92. Carlito's Way is 93. Doesn't change a damn thing about it.
But it's this incredible story of a guy who is really trying to fix everything, right, and do things the right way. But it's just that life is it's too much, and you get so entangled in it, right? You can't become unfamous. You can't just stop. There's no such thing as a halfway crook, right? You either do it or you don't. And he tries to get back into this, and then in the course of that, just everything goes to shit. Sean Penn does an incredible job in this movie.
Sean Penn fucking crushes this shit, dude. So good.
It's incredible. And just from beginning to end, that scene where he's crouched down behind the pool table and he's watching the reflection of the guys in his sunglasses and stuff. Just everything about it. You watch this old guy come back into his prime, right? And it's just, Carlito's Way is absolutely what Scarface could have maybe been. And it is far superior to Scarface. And I when I went to make this list, I put them down one, then the other, and then immediately said, I'm only picking one of these, and the obvious choice is going to be Carlito's Way.
And to further illustrate, I do like Scarface. I think Scarface is okay movie. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's overrated. And there's a difference between the two.
I agree with you.
I agree as well.
But Carlito's Way is he doesn't overact in this movie. He doesn't it's not a caricature of a Hispanic character. He plays a Puerto Rican in this movie, which, by the way, and now in this woke time, that would never happen now. You can never get a fucking white guy to play, even Al Pacino, to play a Puerto Rican guy, because people will be like, are you out of your mind? We can put So for somebody as a Hispanic, I'm just like, shut the fuck. It's a good actor. Shut the fuck up. Who cares? I don't give a fuck. But he does a great job playing this Puerto Rican immigrant and this dude who is his Sean Penn is so fucking great. Like, there's so much about this movie that I love, and I don't want to spoil. Benny Blanco from the Bronx.
Fucking Benny Blanco from the Bronx.
Shit. It's so good, dude. It's such a fucking great movie. And this was
John Leguizamo's absolute finest, by the way. And I enjoy John Leguizamo. I'm not putting the guy down, but Benny Blanco from the Bronx is the best thing that John Leguizamo did as a
But wait, have you seen a little movie called Super Mario Brothers?
I thought you were going to say Spawn. I was waiting for you.
I thought he was going to.
Actually, he's really good in Spawn. He's one of the only good things about Spawn.
I was waiting for Tu Wong Fu from him. That's what I was waiting for.
I like John Leguizamo.
I thought he was going to say The Pest.
But
nobody was going to say The Pest.
Benny Blanco from the Bronx is it's light years beyond anything else he's done before he did that new comedy / education series that he's done. That's great, but it's not him acting, right? Like this was the pinnacle of John Leguizamo before educational comedy that he's come to now.
I'm definitely. This is going to be if not tomorrow, sometime this weekend. I'm going to make time for this. I wish I would have had time to watch it before we did this, but I had to be judicious with what I was gonna watch. So.
All right. Judicious.
He's trying to figure out how to spell judicious.
All right. Is that two Y's or just one?
It's the silent W.
So
There's a G right in
and
the
I will
middle.
say this: the Carlito's Way is the movie that was on my honorable mentions, and then when I made the decision to go with only one movie per director, immediately it was like, all right, this is the one. Like I this is the reason why I was glad to make that. As tough a decision it was to just pick one per director, the moment I decided to go with that rule for myself, I was happy to do so because I knew I was going to bring in Carlito's Way. It's a fucking it's perfect movie, man. It's so
good.
fucking good movie.
Good.
All right, so for number 3s we have The Yakuza, Killing Them Softly, American Gangster, and Carlito's Way. So that's what we have for number 3s. Up next,
Round 2.
Dose, the sequel to Uno.
all right. So number 2 picks, Dave. What do we got, man?
Number 2 is my De Palma pick, and it is The Untouchables.
That is also my number 2 as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You just said you were only doing one pick per director. Those are both De Palma.
I didn't know. I didn't realize that De Palma did. I didn't realize that De Palma did Untouchable. So, but
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Notice he doesn't play the error message for him.
So you do the same guy did Scarface and Carlito's Way.
that's what I thought. What it was, I thought.
But you did not know he also did Untouchable.
No, I thought. This was my confusion. I thought that De Palma was Scarface and Carlito's Way. I forgot that he did. I thought Untouchables was. I confused them for Oliver Stone. I remember I even threw out Oliver Stone's name. It was
you
my
put
fault.
Carlito's Way up as a Stone film.
Hey, listen, man. It doesn't matter because The Untouchables is so fucking good.
Correct. Correct.
And
I'm not changing this. I don't give a fuck. I broke my own rule.
no.
I'm definitely not changing it. I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No.
My number 1 and 2 were solidified. It's fine. It's
we all know what your number 1 is. It's okay. Let's go ahead with number 2. Let's keep talking with number 2. Because it's my number 1 too. But anyway, go on.
Well,
And it's my number 2.
Neri, do you want to go first?
No, it's your first, buddy. Go ahead.
All right, let me tell you guys what I think about. No,
listen, man. When we first started talking about doing a mob movie, Mountain, the first 2 movies that popped in my mind were The Public Enemy with James Cagney back in the 1930s and The Untouchables. The Untouchables is like it's amazing because it's almost like a time capsule because it feels like an 80s action movie, but at the same time it feels like a perfect 1930s gangster movie. It's so weird because it perfectly kind of encapsulates both of those things. And it's totally a De Palma movie. You've got the slowed down, slow motion scenes. You've got the fucking like trippy psych out scenes. But
you
then
got
there's
Sean Connery.
Oh my God, that is. I don't need to say it because he won a fucking Oscar for it, but dude, that is his best performance.
One of the best lines in the top 10 of movies, like the line that he gives them in movie history. One of the Chicago way.
Yeah.
They take one of ours and we take one.
Yeah. And if baseball movies didn't exist as a genre, this would absolutely be Kevin Costner's best role too.
I'm with you. I am with you, sir.
No, this is still his
you're
best
forgetting
role.
about a little thing called Waterworld, sir.
Look, a week ago, I was like, one of these assholes is going to talk about Waterworld, and I'm not having it.
Listen, I'm not at that level. Let's talk about The Postman.
Hey, Postman was fucking good. Fuck you, man. Postman was good, dude.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
Postman was good, dude. Underrated film. Postman was underrated, dude.
I think that I think that Untouchables has, like, hands down the best version of, because I mean, there's so many different versions, but the best version of Al Capone.
So good. That fucking opening scene, dude, with the baseball bat. The fuck out of here, dude.
Oh,
the fuck out of
you
here.
never see De Niro in that type of role, so it's like it was like a nice change of pace.
So fucking good. I felt that tension of when he was doing that scene where he was getting a shave and the barber nicks him, and that fucking tension of fear from the fucking barber, of fear that he was like, oh my God, I'm gonna fucking die because I nicked this guy's beard. Like so good. And that's also a compliment to the actor who played the barber, which is Fulano de Tal. I don't know who the fuck his name is.
Right.
But it was so good. And the tension that was built, the music was used so well in this film.
That is one of Ennio Morricone's best scores.
Correct.
And he is one of my favorite composers.
Yeah, and to me, he's one of these guys that I think the way, again, with combined with the slow motion, with the music, I think it was perfect. The first time I ever went to Chicago, people were like, "Oh, you want to go see the Bean?" And I was like, "I want to go see the fucking train station. Like, fuck this. I want to." Like, I'm like, this is where I went to go.
I was gonna say that later.
And I took a picture. I told my wife, we were dating at the time, and I'm like, "Look, this is from this movie, and there was a baby carriage." And she was like, So what time do you think we could eat? I'm like, "Look, fucking pay attention, woman." And it was so fucking good, dude.
When I went to Chicago for our old job that Neri and I used to work at for the training, we went to Chicago for 2 days, the weekend before, and I said, we have to go there.
Oh, I flew into I did it on purpose. I asked to be flown into Chicago, and I was like, I'll fucking rent a car and get my ass to Bloomington, Illinois, but just fly me to Chicago, because I wanted to get there a weekend before, spend the weekend before, and then do the weekend in between. And I first of all, the city's fantastic. I love that town, but that was just so great to me. And then watching Inside the Actor Studio with Kevin Costner, and he talked about that movie, and he talked about that scene where he was reloading, and they called cut, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And Costner said that he told the director, Oliver Stone, he said inside the actor studio, Costner said that he told his brother-in-law that he was gonna count 8 bullets and then reload, because he was tired of seeing these endless bullets in movies, like where they never run out of ammo, and he thought it was a perfect way to show tension and to create tension. And the director was like, that's fucking weird, but he fucking left it in the movie because Kevin Costner's a huge fucking star, and he left it in the movie. And I love that. I love the fact that he was like, in the middle of this gunfight, they're fucking counting bullets, he's still reloading. And I thought it was great, man. Everything about this film is fucking fantastic. One of my favorite all-time lines, aside from what's his name's line about if you Sean Connery, you bring a knife, you better bring a gun. If you bring a gun, you gotta kill him.
Right.
Whatever. That's the Chicago way. But aside from that, one of my favorite lines.
He puts in the hospital. You put one of his in
the park. That's right.
So aside.
Hold on, Neri, you're breaking up a lot. But I don't know if you need to edit this out, but you're breaking up like crazy. Like if your connection's slowing down.
Let's see. Let's see if I change it to cell phone.
I've got Untouchables on the list. Put it down an honorable mention because of the fact that I wanted to put Carlito's Way on the list. And also, it's like while you can't take away from the fact that it's absolutely a mob movie. I was like, well, it's mostly about Elliot Ness and he was the cop. So,
in my fascination with old school mob movies, I'm talking like 1930s, 1940s stuff. I find that back in the day, there were only two kind of mob movies. There were movies that followed like the rise and fall of someone in the mafia, or they followed the G-men that tried to stop these guys. And I think that trend kind of went away for a little while. But as I look at this list that I've got here, it seemed like it started to come back at some point, like in the 70s and 80s, where I guess like the mafia movie kind of like evolved and turned into something else, where you started to get more of those okay, so we're catching the bad guys now.
Yeah.
Right.
And then again changed into, okay, well, we're going to show you the mafia life.
But it's an absolutely incredible movie. What amazes me is the fact that in all of these years of gangster movies and gangster TV shows, is from Untouchables was 87, and then Boardwalk Empire was, the early aughts. Like, between those, nobody realized that, like, Prohibition era was a great time to explore this and to set things in that time. And I think that's where Boardwalk Empire really cashed in, and that's where Untouchables really did. But there was a lot going on, not only in that time, to get historical with it, but not only was there Al Capone in Chicago, but you also had Arthur Rothstein in New York rigging the World Series. And I mean, you had people everywhere. That's when Lucky Luciano was big. Like, there are so many things that could be explored in this area, that everybody focused more so on that 80s Italian mob life that was bigger. So Untouchables really stands alone in exploring an era that a lot of these films really don't.
Yeah, I concur and agree. I don't know if am I sounding better to you guys now? I put it on.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah.
No, it's just, you were just like cutting out. It was like freezing.
So my favorite line I was saying before, aside from the speech by Sean Connery, my favorite line, one of my favorite scenes is when they're in the courthouse and he follows the guy to the roof and he goes, "Oh, I have a permit for my gun," and he shows him a permit. And then he is trolling Kevin Costner, and he says, "Your friend died like a stock Irish pig." And he said, "What?" He goes, "Your friend died screaming like a stock Irish pig." He said it again. He doubled down on it. And fucking Elliot Ness throws this motherfucker off a building. And as he's yelling, fucking Elliot Ness goes, "Was it something like that?" And I was like, "Holy fucking shit, man! This is crazy!" Like I fucking love. Yeah, I just he dropped the whole body. Fucking awesome.
I also have like, aside from the scene in the cathedral, the scene immediately after they start raiding all the different speakeasies and factories and all that stuff, where you see Capone reading the newspaper in his office. There's such amazing delivery there, where he goes, "I want this Ness guy dead. I want his family dead. I want his house burned to the ground. I want to piss on his ashes." It's like so fucking good. There's so much, like, I'm like, dude, I see Capone there. You know, and it's De Niro, but I'm looking at fucking Capone.
You know, it's funny. There's a comedian by the name of Jimmy Schubert who has a joke, and he uses that same cadence to illustrate his point. Where it's a fantastic joke, but it's a silly concept. Where he talks about, like, whoever thought about having a chicken omelet is like, who the fuck is like, what's their issue against chickens? It's like, I want this chicken dead. I want his kids dead. I want them on my plate all across. Like, he just, and he does his whole cadence. And ever since he's done that joke, ever since I heard Jimmy Schubert do that joke 15 years ago, I'm like, when you said it right now, when you were quoting De Niro in Untouchables, I go, "Oh yeah, he did say that. He did."
You just made me sound like me with my family in quarantine. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
I want my wife dead. I want my kids dead. I want my house burnt to the ground. I want to piss on his ashes.
It's so fucking good, man.
If you don't get outside and you don't play with your brother, then I'm just tearing it all away.
No, but that's an amazing pick, guys.
I love that pick.
Yeah,
man.
like I said, the only reason it didn't actually make is because I picked Carlito's Way instead, because I stuck to the rule I made, Neri.
I didn't know that I was breaking the rule, and then once I broke it, I was like, it's kind of like when you didn't see the red light and you run the red light.
The knife was going to kill her.
Like I didn't
know that the knife was going to kill her.
It's kind of like that thing when you run a stop sign, and the cop is like, "You ran a stop sign," and like, "Well, I fucking ran it. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know at this point." Give me the fucking ticket. I didn't do it on purpose, but now that you called me out.
Oh, dude, I hate that shit. So, where's the fire, son? Dude, write the ticket or don't. I don't have time for this.
Oh, to be white and talk to cops all to be white and to talk to cops like that. Yes, sir. Whatever you'd like, officer. I apologize, officer.
I won't lie for a second. When it comes to white privilege, I exercise the shit out of it when a cop is in my face.
As you should. If I was white, I'd do the same thing. I'm like, hey, how you
cop
doing?
Gets in my face. I'm like, all right, so fuck off or write the ticket. I don't have time.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Man, I wish I could do that.
Yeah. Right. All right. So Untouchables, we got for two of our picks for our number twos. DeBono, what do you got for number two, bro?
For number two, I have got. So I ran into the same dilemma that I did last week, which is while my number two pick, I actually like more as a movie than my number one pick. I feel like for the actual topic that we're looking at right now, I needed to put it at number two. So my number two pick is Goodfellas.
Table.
Oh, there we go. Okay, I was waiting. I was like, somebody's gonna.
I wanted it to go in that ladder.
So I knew it was going to get tabled. Now, if we were, I'll just say this before we get into it any further. If I were ranking how much these movies mean to me, then Goodfellas would be my number one pick. But purely as a mob movie, my number one, I think, accentuates all there is to have in that more so than Goodfellas. So I put Goodfellas number two, but we'll get to it in a little while, I guess.
Okay.
Jeff, what do you got for number two?
Cool. Number Jeff. So my number two, putting it as two movies because they're both kind of the same. I don't care. I'm going to do it. My number two is The Departed / Infernal Affairs. Because because Infernal Affairs is the Hong Kong version, which Departed was based off of. But I just wanted to mention Infernal Affairs, but I'll put The Departed as my number two. There you go.
Okay. Departed is a solid pick. I'm not mad at it.
Departed was
and there we go.
Departed was my original number two. And then when I decided to do that rule that I ended up breaking anyway and say, I'm going to do one by Scorsese, I took Departed out. I love this fucking movie, so I'm glad somebody brought it up. It's fantastic.
I mean, here's a weird thing is there's one of my honorable mentions that I probably could have put into the number two spot because I saw it recently. I'd never seen it, and I saw it, and I'll talk about it in the honorable mentions. But The Departed to me, Infernal Affairs is a great movie, but The Departed to me just took it to a whole nother level because you've got Jack Nicholson, you've got DiCaprio, you've got Matt Damon, all three of them playing amazing. To me, DiCaprio probably should have gotten the Oscar for this.
I agree.
There was a whole back thing going on that the studio didn't want to put him for the lead actor in the movie, and he said he didn't want to compete with Damon and Jack Nicholson for the supporting roles because I don't think they even put Jack Nicholson as the lead actor. I think they put him as a supporting actor in the movie.
I mean, just from the sake of how much he's in the movie, I think Jack Nicholson should be a supporting actor. I don't know if he was labeled as that, but I think he very much should be.
I'm not sure, but all I know is that DiCaprio didn't want to compete against his other castmates because he thought they all did an amazing job, so he didn't want to be put in that supporting role.
I think I'm very much upset not upset, like disappointed, I guess, that upset would be really weird. But I'm disappointed that Matt Damon did not get nominated for this movie because I thought he did a fucking phenomenal. I think everybody did a fantastic job, but I think he deserved a nomination and he didn't get one. And I think he did such a great movie. The suspense on both of them, from Leo, and from Matt Damon, of like they're both like the super high anxiety and they're gonna get caught.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your pick. I don't want to. But
you don't. No. But please, no. But the thing is, what I love about this movie is that you're anxious, like you said, on both sides.
Yeah.
You're anxious on the side of the police. You're anxious on the side of the mob. And this goes along. The only exception to my rule was that number 4 pick with Analyze This because it was a duplicate to which you now know is my number 1. But The Departed, I'm going with kind of the Boston Irish mob. And Jack Nicholson, as Frank Costello was just fucking mind blowing.
One of my very favorite lines from a movie of all time is one of the opening lines from that movie where he says, I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me. And I'm like, holy fuck. And then he kills a guy while the plane is flying over him. I'm like, holy shit. So good.
Well, and
good.
What I love is that, like, so Mark Wahlberg, because you also think about it, you've got Martin Sheen, you've got Alec Baldwin, you've got, and then Mark Wahlberg's in it, and he was talking about how he based his character off of the cops that used to arrest him and his brothers all the time in South Boston. And there's one line that he said that I love in the movie. It's like, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Maybe go fuck yourself. Like, it's just amazing. I think it's just, it's a well done movie. It's just suspenseful. That last just bit of it, with the elevator scene. I mean,
that scene is so good.
By now, everybody should have seen it, but I guess it's spoilers, but not really. But that scene where the just when they're on the roof and then they're in the elevator and then that shit just happens out of nowhere.
I thought that movie, when I saw the end of that movie, I thought the last 45 minutes of that movie, I thought was written by George R.R. Martin. I was like, there is nobody fucking safe.
Nobody's living.
Nobody's fucking safe in this movie, dude. It's so fucking good, dude. Everybody gets taken. It's so, and it's one of these things where, as an American audience, you kind of expect the protagonist of the movie to live, and even if they die, such as Carlitos or whatever, you don't expect every protagonist to fucking die. Right. But it's like especially when you get an ensemble cast like this, I mean, it's fucking crazy. Everybody gets taken out, and I'm just like, holy shit! I love this fucking movie. I looked up Infernal was it
Infernal Affairs.
Infernal Affairs.
I looked at 4 years before this came.
Yeah, I looked up Infernal Affairs. After I just watched The Departed on my own. Before we knew about this, I watched it again in late November, early December. I'm just gonna watch it. One of those movies that I probably watch once every year, every 18 months. I just watch The Departed. It's so fucking great on so many levels. When this movie first came out and I saw it in theaters, I was like on Facebook and shit. And I was like, this is the best movie since Goodfellas. I was saying that to everybody, and it's funny because when it came out on Blu-ray, it was. You know how they put critics, response on the cover, and it says Scorsese's best since Goodfellas. And my friend was like, "Oh, you got that from watching this, from looking at this Blu-ray." And I go, "No, I didn't say Scorsese's best. I said the fucking best movie since Goodfellas. I'm like, not just Scorsese's best, the best movie since Goodfellas." And it's such a great movie. I mean, I love this movie, dude.
I don't think I've met anybody that doesn't like this movie. I'll put it to you that way. With a safe bet. There's another line from Frank Costello. That it's like one of us had to die. Usually with me, it's the other guy.
Yeah,
it's just that just shows you the Jack Nicholson like that character. I couldn't see anybody else play Frank Costello in that movie.
He's so good.
I could not see anybody.
He's so good.
Dude. I was having Joker flashbacks from Batman.
He's so good. I love this movie, man. So fucking good. The acting is fantastic. It's just good.
It's an absolutely incredible movie. What my favorite thing about this movie, actually, and it's not the most enlightened scene or just the most energetic scene, but just that very last shot of just the rat running across the railing, right?
Yeah,
that's how it ends. Like that rat just running straight across that railing, and that's how the movie ends. That just blew me away. I was already just enthralled, and then for that to be the last thing you see is that rat running across. It's killer.
That was a nail in the coffin. That was here it is.
I love the scene with Matt Damon when he's talking to his girlfriend, and he was like, "Hey, if you ever want to leave, you're the one that's gonna have to do it because I'm Irish and I grew up you know what I mean? I forget the phrasing, but it was basically along the lines of I will be in this shit forever and I'll be fucking miserable for the rest of my fucking life. So if you want to leave, you're the one that's gonna have to fucking leave because I'm not going. And I thought it was so fucking perfect. I was like, yeah. And this movie is the one
and
that
then
introduced.
He was like,
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then he was like, and if you need some other dick, just go get it from Affleck because we're basically the same dick.
Also, this is the movie that introduced me to Drop Dead Murphy. So that this is
Dropkick Murphy.
No. Drop Dead Murphy. Drop Kick I already knew about, but Drop Dead Murphy I had never heard about. That's the guy who can never be wrong. Like, no. I didn't fuck up. I'm just saying. I'm telling you.
No.
Yeah, Dropkick Murphy. This is the movie that introduced me to Dropkick Murphy. I had no idea, and that song was perfect for this fucking movie.
Yeah.
Was that Ballad of Johnny X? Is that the one they played in there?
No, Shipping Up to Boston.
Shipping Up to
Boston. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Shipping Up to Boston. That's it. No.
But it became the Sam Adams song.
Yeah, so my number 2 is The Departed. Infernal Affairs. But The Departed, yeah.
All right. What do we have for honorable mentions, fellas?
All right.
Wow, I've got a lot.
Okay, you want me to go on Facebook first? Or?
Yeah, do Facebook. I don't have access to my Facebook.
All right. So Jacob Rubin has the Mafia Guys from Wacky Races, end of list. Q from The Lair has Goodfellas at number 1, Donnie Brasco at 2, The Departed at 3, Reservoir Dogs 4. It is technically a mob movie.
And it's a heist movie.
Will Watkins has from 4 to 1 The Untouchables, Donnie Brasco, Road to Perdition, and Departed.
Road to Perdition. Oh, Road to Perdition.
Good.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Road to Perdition overrated. I'll be the guy that goes on record and
really.
There we go.
Saying that Road to Perdition highly overrated. Not nearly
he had
as
Corona,
good as people no. Road to Perdition is not nearly as good as people want to think that Road to Perdition was.
I didn't know that Road to Perdition was as great.
Because it was a departure for Tom Hanks.
I didn't know that Road to Perdition was as great as it was because when I first saw it, I was like, I don't get the big deal of it. And then I saw it again like a year ago, and I was like, this movie is stunning in every fucking aspect. And the younger me was wrong. And I was like, I was wrong. I thought I was one of those people who were like, I don't really get the big deal. I don't think it's that good of a movie. And then I rewatched it again a year ago, and I was like, oh, I'm stupid.
Didn't you and I have a conversation about this movie?
Multiple times. I think this movie.
Yeah.
I think Road to Perdition is stunning in every single way. The cinematography is fucking great.
Maybe I need to rewatch it.
The acting is great. But when I first saw it, I will say that when I first saw it, I was like, I don't see the big deal about this movie, and I didn't think it was a big deal. I didn't know that it was critically acclaimed the way it was. Again, this is whenever the movie came out, I wasn't into reading reviews or any of that shit. I didn't know. I just I saw it. I'm like, whatever, and I just moved along, and I never thought twice about it. And then when I rewatched it a year ago, I messaged Dave, and I was like, I was so fucking wrong about this movie. I was wrong in every aspect of this movie. It's so fucking good.
Maybe I need to rewatch it.
And that conversation and that whole thing,
and I was unimpressed,
dude. When that scene where at the end, and you've already seen it, so I'm not spoiling shit. At the end, where his son picks up the gun, and Tom Hanks is already on his way out, like he's fading, and his son could not pull the trigger on Jude Law. The face that Tom Hanks had, where he was like, I'm so that he didn't want his son to turn into him, and that scene in it's very much like The Shootist. Except
I was gonna say right now, The Shootist,
except that it was done better because not dissing on The Shootist because The Shootist made my mountain on, so not fucking dissing on The Shootist, but I think this one was done better because the shot was longer. I'm
with you. With you on that.
They took the seed of that scene from The Shootist and they fucking let it grow, and they gave it time and nurtured it, and Tom Hanks did fucking a thing, dude. I love that fucking movie. I think Road to Perdition is stunning.
I'll tell you what. I promise you, with all my newly found time off, I will rewatch.
Hey, man. Hey, I watched AI since last week. Since the day after you and I spoke, I watched AI.
You watched AI, I'll watch Road to Perdition.
And I enjoyed AI. I have no idea why you thought I wouldn't enjoy it. It was trippy as fuck. The first half of that movie was super trippy, but that whole movie is just...
Now you have to watch Equilibrium.
If you think that's trippy, prepárate for fucking Brazil, man.
Watch Equilibrium. Watch Equilibrium, please.
Well, David still hasn't seen. David still hasn't seen. Sorry to bother you. David still hasn't seen. Sorry to bother you.
I've seen it.
Yo, sorry to bother you. That's a tangent. That's a
whole tangent.
I don't even remember talking about this. When did we talk about this?
Blew my.
Remember what you ate for lunch?
Sorry to bother you. It's so good.
All right, let me keep going then. All right, Jemiah has Departed, Bronx Tale, Goodfellas, and Casino. Honorable mentions to Godfather series, Donnie Brasco, Reservoir Dogs, and Once Upon a Time in America. Daniel Enfield has Casino and Once Upon a Time in America. All You Need. Jason Santiago has Godfather, Goodfellas, Donnie Brasco, and The Departed. My boy Chad has 4-1 American Gangster, Eastern Promises, The Departed, and Godfather. Training Day might also be added. It's not really organized crime though, Chad. Sorry.
No, but Eastern Promises is, and that's a great movie.
I've got. Look, I'll jump ahead. I've got Eastern Promises on honorable mention.
Yeah, me too.
That's absolutely. I mean, it's Russian mob, so we don't think about it because it's Russian mob in Russia.
Yeah,
But
and it's also just, isn't that the way all Russians are? I mean, what's the I mean, is that really, how do you?
In Soviet, Russia, mob with it.
But also, look, when I watch Eastern Promises, there should be some sort of special, like, warning at the bottom that's like, hey, there's hella dick in this movie.
Like, there's 4 minutes of dick in this movie.
That's how I felt about love. That's how I feel about Love in a Bullet. It should be like you're gonna see Tretch's dick in.
Well, here's the thing. It's funny that you should say that about Eastern Promises, because that's the reason why I watched Eastern Promises. They told me, hey, there's a lot of dick in this movie. And I was like, maybe I will check it out.
And you were like, Viggo Mortensen got that hog.
Yeah.
I was like,
I get to see Aragon's peen? I'm in. Let's go.
I've been waiting to see what that Aragon peen is like.
Is that how you get an elf? Okay, so...
that's what he used to knight them.
I'm the king of Gondor, penis.
That had to be hell for whoever was in charge of continuity. They had to keep the temperature exactly right for the entire time that they were shooting that scene. Can you imagine if one day it's a little more warm and a little more humid, right? And then one day it's like, hey, so it's cold today, and he's like, well, what the fuck, guys? It's not gonna look the same, right?
All right. Carlos has from 4-1 American Gangster, Goodfellas, The Departed, and Godfather. Honorable mentions to Casino, Bronx Tale, and A Shark's Tale. Interesting. Interesting. I like that.
No, Shark's Tale's a solid pick, right? Martin Scorsese even does a voice in that.
He does.
That's an off the wall, but
it's got the eyebrows.
Yeah.
David Smith has from 4-1 Donnie Brasco, The Good Father, The Godfather 2, and then Goodfellas.
The Good Father, after he joined Right to Censor, and he no longer had the host train.
After he had the host train with him.
Father.
All right, and then Luis Esman? No, I'm just
Louis Esman. That's
I know. It's a joke. It's a joke. Come on. It's the Paul Walker, the Dominic Toretto to your Paul Walker. I know.
Exactly.
4-1. Donnie Brasco. Forget about it. Carlito's away. I'm reloaded. Okay. Goodfellas. Now go get your fucking shine box. The Godfather. It's not personal, Sonny. Strictly business. Leanda has Goodfellas, Oscar, Scarface, and Get Shorty. Tiff has Goodfellas.
Oscar getting
Casino.
some love.
Yeah. Goodfellas, Casino, Godfather, Departed, and American Gangster. Kenny, Godfather Part 2, Goodfellas, The Irishman, Casino, and American Gangster. Yvette has Godfather, Goodfellas, The Departed, and Scarface. That's Facebook.
All right. Instagram.
Well, all right.
We have a couple of people on Instagram, and they said, let me see here. Let me go to this picture, man. All
right.
Nope.
Cool, good talk.
Sorry. I'm not used to posting shit on Instagram.
He has not had plenty of time to do this.
So Instagram, we have Cholita Peruna put Goodfellas, Godfather 1, 2, and 3. All right.
Okay.
Wow. Luann had The Departed. That's all she put. Mateo 305 put Godfather 2, Carlito's Way, Goodfellas, and American Gangster, which is a fantastic list. Raul had The Godfather, Goodfellas, Gangs in New York, and Scarface. And Justin had J-Rock 323 had Goodfellas, Godfather, Bronx Tale, Analyze This. And our old friend Michael Monty had Departed, Donnie Brasco, Goodfellas, and Godfather 1.
All right, let me scratch Gangs in New York for my honorable mention.
Bronx Tale is such a
It's such a fun ass pick.
I wanted to go see the mute because they did a play, a stage show.
It started off as a play. It started off as a play, and then it was a one-man show, and that one-man show got turned into the film, and then it went.
Really?
Yeah, and then it went back on Broadway after the success of the movie.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay,
and it's just that's such a fun pick. Like I honestly wish I'd had the balls to put Bronx Tale.
The problem that I have with Bronx Tale, I think it's a fantastic story. The problem I have with Bronx Tale is that I find the kids acting, and the mom too, but the mom is like in 2 scenes, so it doesn't matter. But the kids acting is atrocious. It's so fucking bad. But the story is so good.
It's bad.
The story is so good, and I'm like, ugh. And I really have a problem with bad acting, but I love that movie. That movie is legit, really a good movie. All right, so
Dave, right?
Man, I have so many. Okay, Dick Tracy. I legitimately love Dick Tracy, and I know that it's got its flaws, but it's a movie that I will always love, and I see it multiple times a year, and to me, it hasn't lost any of its luster.
The only flaw with that movie is the whole movie, so it only has one flaw, I think.
Moving on. So, the Public Enemy, the original Public Enemy, the original Scarface. The original Scarface has like one of the very first car chase scenes, I think, in all of movie history.
It was 10 miles an hour.
No, dude, I had never seen it before like 2 weeks ago, and it blew me away.
How many times did they have to stop to crank the car up again?
Only if they hit a pothole. Only if they hit a pothole. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre from the mid '60s. This is kind of like the tombstone of gangster movies. It is so well researched and so incredibly accurate and faithful to the actual events of the North Side South Side wars between Capone and Moran in the 1920s. It's fucking awesome. True Romance.
Tombstone.
Yeah.
True Romance.
True Romance. Is
True Romance.
Yeah. Jane Austen's Mafia is just so fucking funny.
Mafia is great.
Yeah. Miller's
That was
Crossing.
the other comedy.
Yeah. Miller's Crossing, French Connection.
I think we picked 4. We're fine. We're good.
Some like it hot.
You did. Debona, what do you got for your honorable mentions, Debona?
Mute him.
All right, look, I'm not going to gloss over the fact that this guy took a second to mention Some Like It Hot, and
there you go.
That. All right, so basically just list movies that didn't make my list for one reason or the other. Casino, absolutely incredible, but like I said, my number 2 was Goodfellas. That was my Scorsese pick.
For me, it was between Casino and Goodfellas.
And when I had to pick one of the 2, it was an obvious choice.
Can I just pick Sharon Stone in Casino? Lord Jesus.
Donnie Brasco.
Yum.
Donnie Brasco is a movie where I was on edge like the entire time. I was tense.
Yep.
Like every muscle in my body was tight when I was watching Donnie Brasco because I did not know how it was going to play out, and I was terrified the whole time.
I agree.
Once Upon a Time in America is absolutely spectacular, and it's one that didn't make my list because I'm sure it's just because of my age and what I expect of movies, and maybe this one didn't live up to it. And while I can acknowledge that Once Upon a Time in America is a fantastic movie, I just didn't feel like it stacked up to a bunch of these others.
I started watching Once Upon a Time in America last year. It's still going, so I haven't finished it. It's still playing in the back. It's taken 6 years to fucking watch. Holy shit, what a long movie. It's so long.
So and then my last honorable mention was one that I desperately wanted to put in, but this is a category so near and dear to my heart that I couldn't throw a comedy in there. But have y'all ever seen a movie starring Michael Keaton called Johnny Dangerous?
Oh, I fucking love this movie, man.
You took one of my honorable mentions.
Johnny Dangerously is we've mentioned Mafia, and we've talked about parody movies and stuff like that. Johnny Dangerously is pure parody of the Mafia movie. It's a Naked Gun style Mafia movie.
Yeah,
but it's just
with Joe Piscopo.
And it's fucking hilarious. And
my mother did that to me once.
Once. Exactly. Like it's just it's just top to bottom, just ridiculously funny stuff. But when he the dude flushes the toilet and there's a bomb in it, he comes out holding the flusher and he's like, I'm holding my cork in my hand. Like, just so much stupid shit like that. It's absolutely hilarious. Does it fit into this category? Yes. Does it belong to be one of the top 4? No. But Johnny Dangerously, if you've never seen it, Neary, since you're the only one who's not chimed in, you have got to watch Johnny Dangerously. It is absolutely hilarious.
It takes
you have, Neary, didn't you?
I saw a lot of it a long time ago. I don't remember most of it. I remember there was a scene at a bar where they had and I confused this movie a lot with the Val Kilmer spoof movie,
Top Secret.
Yeah, Top Secret. I confuse these two movies a lot, so I can't be
completely unrelated. When are we doing a spy movie, Mountain? Completely unrelated. It has nothing to do with it.
Well, I could
this page in the old notebook.
I could tell you, but that information is classified. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't really feel confident that enough to be able to talk about this movie because I think it was decades ago, and I don't know. I confused two movies.
It's slapstick. It's witty. It's funny.
Slapstick is dude. Airplane is one of my all-time favorite comedies.
Dude,
that's
the thing. It falls right in line with your Airplane, with your Mafia, with your Hot Shots.
It feels like a
movie to all of those.
It feels like a Abrams Zucker movie, but it's not. But it feels like it belongs in there.
I love all those movies that you just mentioned. I love all those movies, so I'm sure I'll like this one too.
It's directed by Amy Heckerling, though, so you're gonna get some really good laughs throughout the movie.
All right, all right. So Jeff, what do you got for honorable mentions?
All right, you guys mentioned a lot of them, so I'm gonna leave them out. Some you didn't mention was Kill the Irishman with Ray Stevens. I really enjoyed that movie.
It's a good movie, dude.
You didn't like that movie?
I like that movie. I thought it was good.
Not really.
I thought it was alright.
I've never seen it.
I thought it was fun. I mean, I didn't think it was great, but I didn't think it was bad. It was good. It was a good movie. It was fun.
It's an honorable mention because of the fact that everybody mentioned a bunch of my other honorable mentions.
It's my number one. It's Kill the Irishman is my number one on my mountain of movies with car bombs. That is my number one.
That car bomb is seen as fantastic.
There's like
You're
seven.
wrong because your number one on car bomb movies should be the very first Mission Impossible movie.
But
it should be Mafia.
But here's
it should be Mafia.
But here's the thing: Kill the Irishman has like 17 car bombs in that fucking movie.
That's true. It does.
By sheer numbers.
Spree, so there's literally like 400 cars.
By sheer numbers.
We're gonna do that episode, and I'm gonna do a car bomb every time it's my turn to pick.
Oh my god, that's gonna be great. All right, so Jeff,
like
what else?
I'm down.
What else?
So Kill the Irishman. I've got Layer Cake.
Oh, Layer Cake. Guy Ritchie.
Never seen it. Seen it.
It's a great movie. I've got, since I like to do Asian films, I've got Ichi the Killer.
Oh, yeah.
I like Scratchy the Killer. That was a good one.
You want to see a girl get her nipples sliced off with a katana?
Exactly. If all I can tell you about Ichi the Killer is, if this scene bothers you, don't watch it. They slice a woman's nipples off.
Bothers me. That's my fucking search on Pornhub. What are you fucking talking about?
No, Pornhub free right now during the lockdown.
Pornhub Premium is free. Just FYI, my friends.
And then my last honorable mention is going to be the movie that I said I was back and forth with the Departed, that I actually really enjoyed this movie. I had never seen it originally, was Legend with Tom Hardy.
So good.
Thought you were going to say with Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
So good.
No, Legend,
the unicorn
gangsters. Where he plays the twins. Such a fucking great movie.
So fucking good.
It almost made my mountain just because I thoroughly enjoyed the way that I know Dave hates Tom Hardy, doesn't think he's a good actor, but him in this role playing those two different characters was fucking fantastic. There's a scene, I'm not going to go too into it, it's not one of my picks, where they go into a bar literally to pick a fight, and he's playing both brothers, but the crazy brother, he's the monologue he has where he's like, you guys, I brought it, he has a gun, he's like, I came here for a shootout. What the fuck is this, pussies? I came here for a shootout.
Yeah.
I came for it. And, it's such a fucking cool movie that I think not a lot of people saw it. It's on Netflix.
Oh, I
so
love
you
this
can
movie.
watch it.
I fucking love this movie. I own it.
Great. Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fucking great. I love that movie. It's fucking great.
Never seen it.
It's really
I highly
fucking good.
You should watch it, Demona, because he's surprisingly really good in it.
I
He
don't
doesn't
have
wear
to
a
be
mask.
up in the mornings anymore.
It's on, like I said, it's on Netflix. The streaming. That's where I rewatched it.
All right. My honorable. Are you done with your honorable mentions, Jeff?
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry. Yeah.
My honorable mentions are some we've talked about, some we haven't. Departed, Godfather Part 2, which I find a superior film to Godfather Part 1, which is saying a lot because I find Godfather 1 to be a masterpiece and perfect in every way, and I find Godfather 2 to be more perfect in every way. I love Godfather 2. I love everything about that film. And my next picks are Road to Perdition, which I've already gone on about, and Black Mass. Which I fucking love.
With Jet Li?
No,
that's Johnny Depp, right?
That's Johnny Depp. Black Mask is the one with Jet Li. Black Mass, MASS, is.
I thought you said Black Mass.
No, Johnny Depp plays Whitey Ford, and it is fucking amazing, dude.
Adding to the list.
I forgot to mention one other thing real quick. I do apologize. I'm gonna say Showdown in Little Tokyo, starring Dolph Lundgren and Brandon Lee, because they fight the Yakuza, and it has the greatest line in movie history where Brandon Lee looks at Dolph Lundgren and says, "I saw your dick, and you have the biggest dick I've ever seen."
God damn it, as soon as you mentioned that movie, I was like, oh, he's going to say the big dick line.
That's the only reason to mention that movie, because it's not good, but he has the best line ever.
Did you ever see the remake of The Longest Yard? With
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler, and they're talking to Goldberg while Goldberg is taking a shower, and he goes, and they're talking about playing he's a convict, and they're talking about playing the guards in a football game, and he goes, yeah, why don't you just hit him with that hog you got down there? And he says, and Goldberg's line is, I want to hurt him, I don't want to kill him, and big dicks are funny. All right, so we're up to
Round 1.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back.
Do it! Do it! Come on! Come on!
All right, man, we're down to do number ones. Dave, what do we got, brother?
Goodfellas, man.
Yep.
Yeah, mine too. That's my number one.
That was my number 2.
It's also my
Neri,
number
that's
one.
your number one.
So I'm the only one who doesn't have Goodfellas as their number
But you
one.
have it. But you have it.
But I do have it.
And you gave an explanation as to why, which I can agree with what you're saying.
And
because, yes, it's not necessarily a 100% mob movie.
Thank you.
I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I disagree 100%.
No, hold on. I'm not saying it's not 100% a mob movie. Like I said, if I'll get to what my number one is in a second, apparently, since I'm the only one who has what's left to say. What I'll say about Goodfellas right now is purely from a movie, what makes a movie great type of aspect. I like Goodfellas more than my number one, but I feel like my number one is a better movie, if that makes any sense, right?
No.
Like, I'm willing to admit that my taste in movies isn't always the end-all, be-all, and that there are things that make a movie better than necessarily what I look for in one. Goodfellas is in my heart my number one, but statistically and everything laid out my number two. So, but let's talk about Goodfellas.
I mean, I would have to hear what your number one is, but to me, like, Goodfellas is a masterclass in filmmaking.
Agreed.
There is not one wasted shot. There's not one misplaced song. Every fucking line, no matter how improvised it is absolutely perfect. Like, that is a perfect movie.
I agree.
There is, I mean, and I love The Godfather. I love Godfather Part 2. Really, the only reason why it didn't make it onto my mountain is because I kind of think of those movies almost as like mafia fairy tales. It's very romantic. It doesn't, to me, I like grittiness and I like reality.
You don't see Don Corleone flushing cocaine down the toilet.
Right. No, look.
But to me, these movies are just Goodfellas is just as perfect as The Godfather is. And,
good.
I mean, all you need is, I think, maybe the most perfect shot in any movie ever. And this is coming from like a Spielberg fanboy here. All right, the scene where Ray Liotta first takes his girlfriend out, and
they're going through the back room.
They're walking through the back,
and they walk all through the back, through the kitchen. They get
every time you two, every
shot.
time.
And it's
the
that
most
one
perfect
shot of him paying the people off and then setting up the table. No, look, Goodfellas is absolutely incredible. Goodfellas would probably rank one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. There's a very specific reason that I'll get to when I say what my number 1 is. That I put it number 2, but I like Goodfellas more than my number 1. I sometimes sort of take what we do here maybe too literally, and I look at too many aspects, and so I put it at number 2. While I will very plainly admit to you that Goodfellas I like more than my number 1. There are so many incredible things to be had in this movie.
Joe Pesci.
Yeah. The rise and fall, right? Just from being a nobody kid, right, to seeing this and going to be a part of it. One of my favorite scenes that's almost a throwaway scene in the whole movie is the first time that Ray Liotta's character gets busted, right? And then when he's done with the judge and his lawyer does the smile and you see the one gold tooth, right? And then he walks out and everybody from the family is there to cheer and clap.
You popped your cherry.
Right? Like that scene is just, that encompasses what they're all about, right? Like, we know everything that's involved with this life. You're going to get busted. You're going to have to go. We own judges. We own lawyers. Like, that scene was the moment when he realized that everything that's involved, down to getting busted, is included with what comes to this life.
Yeah.
Where until that moment, he had romanticized it as just being about being, he's a good fella, right? He's a good guy. And that was when he realized that everything that was involved was part of it. I'm 100% sure that someday when my wife gets bored, I'm going to wake up to her straddling me with hopefully an unloaded gun in my face just because she also loves that movie so much, and I fuck up a lot. So I'd like to think that maybe it will be unloaded, but she also loves that movie, and down to the very last scene where he's standing there in the doorway, right? He holds the newspaper and he's like, I ordered noodles and marinara. I got egg noodles and ketchup. And he's so fucking disappointed at what life is when you're not a made guy, because he's never understood anything but this life of being a made guy. Goodfellas is absolutely incredible, and probably, like I said, it would probably make my top 5 movies of all time. I absolutely love it. That's, like I said, it was my number 2. I've got it on the list. It's definitely going to make the mountain. Probably is number 1. Definitely is number 1 on the mountain. But love Goodfellas.
Yeah, it and the thing is Joe Pesci as Tommy in that movie is just
go get your fucking shine box,
bro. And when he fucking kills
bats.
When that at first it's just he shoots him in the foot, and then
Didn't
he?
No. We thought you were talking about the shine. We thought you were talking about the shine box guy, which is Billy Bats, but you're not talking about him.
Right, that's Billy Bats.
Yeah.
I'm talking about and I'm blanking out his name, that he was in The Sopranos.
I fucking love that scene when he goes, "Hey, Tommy, go fuck yourself," and he's like, hey!
You gonna let him talk to you like that?
Hey, you know what? Good for you. Good for you. Don't take no shit from nobody, and he gives him a fucking tip.
Throws the money at him.
Oh, so good. What are we living? What day is it that we're living in? The fucking time he's gonna take this shit from this kid, huh?
Spider is his name, right? Yeah, Spider.
And then Tommy just fucking unloads on him and fucking kills him in front of everybody. Like,
no, the best part of that though is Robert De Niro looking at him. He's like, you're gonna dig the fucking hole. You're gonna go get the lime, right? Like Robert, he's not even disgusted at the fact that Joe Pesci just killed somebody for.
He's like,
nothing.
you're gonna fucking clean this up, motherfucker.
You're gonna dig the fucking hole, right?
Yeah.
Like it's him just upset that now he has to put manual labor into this.
That's his punishment. It's like, you're gonna have to do this now, like you're fucking like a child who dirtied the dish. You're gonna have to wash the dishes now. Yeah. Yeah, that's and this is what I'm talking about before when we were talking about American Gangster. This movie absolutely glorifies criminals.
Big time.
Absolutely, and it's my number one. And I could stand back and say, no, this movie does absolutely glorify criminal activities and criminals and mobsters. When I watch American Gangster, and again I watch it once a year, I've never seen it with these rose-colored. I've never seen it like, wow, I want to be Frank Lucas. I'm like, this dude is off his fucking rocker, dude. This is not a good situation.
You know what I think it is? I think it has a lot to do with tone, because American Gangster is a very serious movie.
Yeah.
And Goodfellas has a lot of joking around.
Has a lot of humor. So, it shows them as being human as well. Yeah.
It shows them
in a very human way. And so what happens is you become attracted to these people because they look human to you. They behave human. This is someone I'd like to hang out with and make jokes with. Right?
When you watch
but I'm watching these guys and I'm disgusted with them. Like I want to throw up. Like, oh my God, how can you treat people this way?
Oh, I never thought that.
I don't know.
Am I psycho? Am I psycho? Because I never felt disgusted by these guys.
No, I don't think it glorifies them. I think that it makes you think about yourself and what you view as a bad guy.
Yeah.
I don't know,
in a much more introspective way than American Gangster does.
Right.
I mean, because you look at it like one scene in particular sticks to me, and it's Joe Pesci when he's joking. It's right after the whole famous, am I a clown, blah blah whatever,
right.
Where the guy walks up to him, he's like, "Hey, your tab." Got this tab, and he's just like, "Hey, you're embarrassing me in front of my friends," like, and he just smashes. Like that scene to me, I was like, Joe Pesci's a badass. Like, to me, that just blew it to me, and I was like, this is the coolest fucking guy ever.
And then he adds the joke. He adds the joke afterwards. He goes, "You want to really laugh?" Last week he asked me to christen his fucking kid.
Yes, God damn it, yes.
That's
that
so
is
great.
Joe Pesci's best line in the entire movie because he recovers from that whole fucking thing so well. Look, like I said, I may be a sociopath. I don't know. I watch Goodfellas and I'm like, given the opportunity, I'd live that life.
Yeah.
100%, no doubt, I would live that life. And it's just like everything they show, but I love that they also showed, like the Lorraine Bracco when she's giving the little monologue about
so good.
The agents would show up with their search warrants. Some of the girls would spit on them. Can you imagine that? Spitting on your own floor. I'd always invite them in for coffee, right? Like she's so like just immune to all of it until his girl shows up. It's just the whole thing is so wild, and I feel like it's decently romanticized. I know it's based on a true story, so is American Gangster, but like we talked about, it's falsified to an extent. It's Goodfellas is just an incredible movie, and it's relentless. Like you never stop to breathe when you're watching. It's like as soon as one thing lets down, something else happens. Then you get to meet Joe Pesci's mom, and she's fucking ignorant.
That's where I was going to talk about. That they have a body in the trunk, and they're sitting at her house having fucking spaghetti.
Just eating pasta at midnight. Yeah. Like a good Italian grandma. They're not going to let him go away.
I love the dog painting that you bring. It's like, hey, show him the painting. Show him the painting. Look how great this is. One dog's facing this way, one dog's facing that way. Why? What do you want?
That looks like a guy we know.
I love
Scorsese's mom.
I love the fact that he takes the knife and he's like, Ma, yeah, we hit a deer, we gotta cut the hoof, the what do you call it, the hoof? And he's like, it's a sin, Ma.
What do you call it, the hoof?
Yeah, what do you call it, the hoof? And he's like, and she's like, oh no, and he's like, Ma, it's a sin, my poor animal, it's a sin. Like, this guy is such a fucking
right?
And it's just but one of my this movie, look, I have there's a few movies that I have literally the full size poster framed in my living room, and this is one of those movies. And one of the greatest things about this movie, and again, everything is perfect, everything is great, but one of my favorite things about this movie is the way, from a technical aspect, that it perfected the voiceover. The way it 100%. It's such a good narrative. It's such a good, and the fucking Ray Liotta just did perfect. And it wasn't just Ray Liotta and doing the voiceovers. There was other actors and other characters, but it was so good. I legitimately was that guy. I remember watching this movie as a kid, and when that scene would go, when they would introduce De Niro's character, and he says he's the kind of guy that would root for the bad guy in the movie. Yeah. I would literally be that. I was 11 years old when this movie came, and I would watch this movie and be like, I'm that guy. I'm fucking rooting for De Niro. De Niro's the bad guy, and I'm fucking rooting for this guy to win.
When I got my PlayStation 2, it was I was the first one in our family to get a DVD player. So I got a PlayStation 2 for Christmas, and the very first thing I did was I headed to Blockbuster. Or no, not maybe
Hollywood Video.
It was Blockbuster.
West Coast Video.
And I went and rented Goodfellas on DVD. You had to flip it over halfway through. It was so damn long. Right before Lorraine Bracco finds out about the girlfriend and starts buzzing all the doorbells, you had to flip the DVD over to keep watching. That's how much I love this movie. It was the very first DVD I ever owned. I also think that one of the parts of this movie that never gets enough credit for being shot as well as it did is Jimmy's descent into madness.
The paranoia of the final act.
The helicopter.
Yes, the whole filming style changes entirely. The editing style changes.
Exactly.
And all that shit was done after the movie was over.
Everything, I did not know that, but everything about the movie changes in Act 3. There's a tonal shift in the way the movie is viewed.
Scorsese screened the movie, and everyone loved it, but they thought that it dragged too long and that the third act was particularly boring. And so he decided, all right, well, I'm going to reshoot some scenes. I'm going to re-edit it. And he brought that like frantic, chaotic editing style into it and kind of highlighted this paranoia, coked out, feeling that Liotta was going through, and he made us experience it along with him.
And you experience it perfectly because as you watch Act 3 of that movie, you feel the paranoia from Jimmy killing Samuel L. Jackson, and just slowly knocking people off. Like I said way earlier, we were talking about Mink Coat kills the one guy because he buys his girl a fur coat when they weren't supposed to be spending the money. Like the Act 3 of that movie is just. You can't stop to breathe. Like Act 3 of that movie, just from the Lufthansa heist till the end of the movie, it's absolutely nonstop. Just fucking buckle in. You're 2 hours in. Let's go one more, and it's absolutely incredible. I love this movie. I love everything about it. I know every damn line. I've seen it 100 fucking times. It's just spectacular.
Now, one quick thing interesting, Taneri was talking about the voiceover that I wanted to mention. So I was reading up on the movie, and so Ray Liotta actually, while he was doing the voiceovers to make it sound more authentic, had somebody else in the room and was reading it to them. So it sounded like he was reading it to somebody and making it more conversational.
I can dig that.
Apparently, that's one thing they did, which made it way more authentic. That it's like this guy's actually telling you the story.
It's great, man. These little things. Ray Liotta is one of these guys that when you watch Goodfellas, and I know Ray Liotta's a well-known actor, but I'm like, why isn't he bigger than he is? Like he's like, he's on par with De Niro and Pesci, which is saying a lot. These are two of our best actors that that the world has ever seen, and Ray Liotta is fucking in every scene of this movie and is on par with these two fucking icons, and he's not he's hanging with
two people that you know.
He's like it's like imagine being that guy, and I go, it's just sports reference, Dave, so bear with me, but imagine being that guy who can literally lace up with Jordan and LeBron, but yet his career is not a bad career, but he it didn't go any like the other two, De Niro and Pacino, kept fucking ascending.
He's about Allen Iverson right now.
Correct, and then that's not the same, and you're not on the same. And I just feel like I just feel like Ray Liotta should have
like a Karl Malone maybe.
No, Karl Malone pretty highly regarded.
He tried, man. Come on, give him.
Okay.
Give him a fucking try, man. Jesus,
I mean, I never hear anyone throw out Karl Malone when they're talking about the
It's the fucking mailman. The mailman.
That's right. You don't hear about him now because now there's the internet. So now it's like they don't have the email man. All right. So
all right. I guess I'm the only one who has my number one to pick.
Go ahead.
My number one, and honestly, I'm shocked that it didn't make anybody else's mountains. This is similar to the time when I was on Rushmore and did rap albums, and I was the only one who picked Illmatic, because I thought this was a guaranteed number one for a lot of people. As much as I love Goodfellas, and I actually like Goodfellas more than this movie, but as a movie, I feel like it's better. When it comes to mob movies, the blueprint is Godfather 2.
Look, I can't be mad at
you're
that
not
pick.
Gonna get an argument, yeah.
I'm not gonna get a pick. To me, these are all Godfather, Godfather 2, and Goodfellas. To me, are three very perfect movies. There's nothing wrong with that pick whatsoever. I posted this poll on Twitter not too long ago. I was having a conversation with Missy, my friend Missy, and our friend Missy, and she hasn't seen Godfather or 1, 2, or Goodfellas, and she says, "Oh, I feel like I have to. Isn't Godfather better than Goodfellas? Shouldn't I watch Goodfellas first and then watch Godfathers? Because I'll be disappointed if I go backwards." And I was like, "No." I told her, I go, "Look, these movies are very different,
Yeah.
but they're all three regarded as great." And I said, I said I would pick Goodfellas over Godfather, gun to head, pun intended. And I posted the poll on Twitter, and Godfather actually beat out Goodfellas as per my poll on Twitter. So
here's the thing with Godfather 2, right? And I can't remember if it was Jeff or David. I think it was Jeff earlier, who said that when you talk about the Godfathers, what you're looking at is mob fairy tale.
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, sorry, Dave. Sorry, but so that's the thing, right? When you watch Godfather 2, it absolutely is mob fairy tale. Like from top to bottom through three movies, it's this incredible story that's told over the three movies. And look, I know Godfather 3 is not that great, but it's essential to everything that's being told in the story.
I am one to say I love Godfather 3 on its own. The only problem with Godfather 3 is that it comes on the heels of Godfather 1 and 2, which are arguably the two best movies in cinematic history.
And that may be the problem, right? Because you watch Godfather and it's absolutely incredible. And I've read Godfather and I've watched Godfather, and just everything about it is so good and it's so deep and you feel it. And in the group chat, I think it was maybe Jeff earlier was like, I forgot that everything that's quotable about this movie happens in the first 40 minutes.
yeah. In the first 20 minutes of it.
Yeah, like everything everybody remembers from the Godfathers from that first couple minutes. But Godfather 2, look, we were talking about shots earlier that will hang with you forever. And we were talking about that shot from Goodfellas. But that shot where Al Pacino is Michael Corleone, right? And he's got the guy pinned down and his fist is right by his face. And he stops to contemplate every moment and every choice that's led him to this point in his life, right? And it zooms in and you don't hear anything. And then the music starts to come to, and it's just everything about that scene encompasses everything that these are supposed to be about, right? Like it's you're this shitty nothing kid from the barrio that eventually comes to be somebody, and you eventually reach this point where you're this You're what you thought was a bad guy, but it's what you have to do to live your life. And Michael Corleone is reflecting on everything that's happened to him up until this point. Through the Godfather series, you've got an incredible cast of actors. I mean, it's a Coppola film. You can't go wrong. It's just everything about it is absolutely incredible. But I think that David used the phrase Goodfellas is a masterclass. Like, I put Godfather 2 right there with Goodfellas. Like I said, personal preference is Goodfellas. Filmmaking, just being an incredible movie, is the only reason I put Godfather 2 above this, because it's the pinnacle of the series. 3 is good, but you're absolutely right, Neri. 3 comes on the heels of 2, which is incredible.
And 3 has Sofia Coppola eating dick on screen, so there's also that. Sofia Coppola's acting is fucking atrocious. So that's the only glaring weakness of part 3. Holy fuck.
I mean, that's why she dies.
Yeah.
I mean, anyway, what I was going to say was, so I mentioned this in the chat we have. I haven't seen Godfather, any of them, in probably 12 years.
Yeah.
10 to 12 years.
Just pretend they're Asian, dude, and you'll watch it. Just put the captions on. If you put the captions on, it's almost like subtitles, so it's fine. You just do that.
They might as well be foreign. I mean, half of Godfather 2's in Italy.
Yeah,
that is true.
Yeah, I watched a good amount of the first one today, again, and that's where I mentioned that statement that Danny DeBona said about the first 20 minutes. I forgot that in the first 20, 30 minutes of the movie, a lot of like the iconic scenes happen. Yeah. You know, I haven't gotten to 2. I don't remember enough about 2. So that's why it wasn't on my mountain, because, like I said, I haven't seen this in a decade. So it's definitely, I want to rewatch it because I feel I need to. I need to be able to remember all of these movies, you know, but that's why it's not on my list.
The last time that I saw the Godfather movies was about, I want to say it was maybe 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And, it was on HBO, and they had something called the Godfather Epic.
The Godfather Epic, right, where they just put them all together and they chronologically order it.
Yeah, so you get all of the young Vito scenes in Italy first.
Yeah.
Then you get all of the stuff from Godfather 1, and then you get all of the Michael stuff from Godfather 2. And laying it out in chronological order like that, it's like the most amazing story ever told.
It will take, I think when you watch
10 hours long.
10 hours, right?
Yeah.
Yes. When you watch it, it's 10 hours of your life. But if you dig it, it's worth every second, because when you see it all put together in one incredible story like that, it's like reading one long ass book. It's all one story, and it's amazing.
Steph and I, when we did it, we approached it kind of like a miniseries, like an HBO miniseries, where we'd watch like an hour or two one night, and then another hour or two another night. It took us almost a week to watch the whole thing. But I want to find one day where I've got nothing going on, and I can just sit down with a bottle of whiskey and just drink and watch it from start to finish. Because it really is just it's an amazing story. It's incredible, and one of the reasons why it didn't make my mountain is because as much as I love it, I don't love it as much as the other stuff. You know, it's a very simple reason. To me, The Godfather set the standard of what modern films are. If that makes any sense, like there to me there was Hollywood before sound. Right. Then there's the Hollywood after sound, and then there's The Godfather, and then there's everything after The Godfather. Because
hell yeah.
After The Godfather, everything starts emulating the way that The Godfather's done.
Right. Coppola changed film forever with The Godfather.
Yeah. But it didn't make my mountain for the same reason that like The Public Enemy didn't make my mountain. I love The Public Enemy.
The black and white one. He's talking about the black and white one.
The black and white one, yeah.
Not the Johnny Depp.
No, legit. Like, I had the same confusion.
Thanks for that pointless clarifying.
No, I had because there's a movie called Public Enemies with Johnny Depp, and that when him and I were talking about it, I thought he was talking about that. That's not the movie he was talking about.
Yeah, no, I'm talking. Right.
The other one's not plural.
I'm talking about the singular Public Enemy with James Cagney from 1931. I love that movie. But when you start stacking it up next to Casino and Goodfellas and The Untouchables and some of the other movies that we've talked about, I don't like it as much. Just on hey, which movie am I going to watch? I'm not going to choose Godfather. I'm going to choose Goodfellas.
And look, that's why Goodfellas
but
is a personal favorite.
What it does for cinema, undeniable. I mean, there is no Goodfellas without Godfather.
And that's why Goodfellas is a personal favorite more than Godfather. Yeah. But like I said, sometimes I come at the mountain possibly more surgically than I should. And so, like I said, this is 2 weeks in a row where my number 2 is actually a movie I like more than my number 1, but I feel like my number 1 more perfectly encapsulates the topic. Because last week I put Minority Report over Blade Runner, which obviously I love Blade Runner more than Minority Report.
You did right.
But so it's the same thing this week. I like Goodfellas more than Godfather 2, but I think that as far as cinema and film goes, Godfather 2 is.
I absolutely love Goodfellas, Godfather 1 and 2, very much the same. To me, it's really like picking between children. When you go, oh, which is your favorite child? Of course we all, have one, but you don't really say it out loud, and you just pretend like, no, I just love them all different ways. But that's how I feel. Like there's no wrong answer. So whatever answer you pick, I honestly just didn't want to. I'll be completely honest. I put Godfather 1 and 2 on their own. Like, to me, they're such those films, I regard them so highly that I put them on their own. Like, okay, Godfather 1 and 2. Now let's talk about the other movies that have a shot against each other. Like, that's how high I put Godfather 1 and 2. Godfather is my go-to. I said this last week when I hate that conversation when people go, oh, for its time. I hate that fucking phrase because there's no such thing as for its time when you have really good something.
Exactly. Godfather is timeless.
And that's my go-to. I literally point to Godfather 1 and 2 and go, those were movies that were done in the fucking 70s, and they still fucking they age like wine, and it's better and better, and I watch them every year, and every fucking year that I watch these movies, I go, wow, that scene, and that's every scene, and that the acting is so perfect, and the lighting is so perfect, the fact everything is so perfect, and that's how much I love Godfather 1 and 2. So to me, that's not a bad. The fact that you picked part 2 over Goodfellas, I don't take that as a slight to Goodfellas at all. I think it's a perfect. There's no wrong answer to that, dude. There's no wrong answer. I honestly just didn't put them on the list because I feel like they're their own. You know what I mean? It's like when somebody.
No, I can absolutely see that. I get it. Like I said, it was just funny because back doing Rush for. We did hip hop albums, and I did the same thing where it's like, man, everybody's gonna have this one on there, and then it never showed up, and I was like, this is crazy, but all right, whatever.
I probably would have had Illmatic on there if I was doing that topic. I probably would have had, if not number 5 or on it by meaning, just thinking off the top of my head, Illmatic is fucking great though. All right, so we got for the Mountain, we obviously have Goodfellas. That's obviously gonna make it.
Goodfellas got 4 votes. Carlito's Way's got 2.
The Untouchables also had 2.
Untouchables has 2.
So we got Goodfellas. All right. So Carlito's Way. So Goodfellas, Carlito's Way, and Untouchables, and then we're looking for our fourth.
I say put Godfather 2.
I was about to say I'm about to fight for my boy, but you can't have a mob movie list without having a Godfather movie on there and the runaway favorite and best of the Godfather trilogy.
I was gonna say American Gangster, but the Bona hates black people, so he doesn't want it. So let's.
You
Just
could have said Alabama.
Just
Sure.
too
No,
real.
look,
Too real.
You realize how bad everything about this podcast would get shit on if we did mob movies and there wasn't a fucking
No, there's no wrong answer here. There's no. I'm really okay with putting any one of these movies that is not called Analyze This. I'm really okay with it. Like, I don't think you can go wrong with this. So I agree with you. Godfather 2. I second that. I second that pick, man. Dave, what do you guys think? Dave and Jeff, you guys okay with Godfather 2?
I'm good with that. Yeah.
So our choices.
I like it, but DeBona's really adamant about it. And
I'm telling you, go rewatch the Godfather trilogy.
I'm watching it. I'm going to finish it tomorrow.
And then all these other things that you've been watching, getting ready for this episode, realize where the foundation was built in 1972 when the Godfather.
And you go watch Road to Perdition. All right, so we got.
I'll go watch Road to Perdition again and Oscar.
So our
Black Mass, Road to Perdition, and Oscar.
Fantastic. So the final mountain is Goodfellas,
Legend,
Godfather 2, Untouchables, and Carlito's Way. So that's a fantastic. That's a fantastic day of watching movies right there.
Yeah, I can't hate that list at all. It's really good. That's a solid ass list.
Did anybody, DeBona? Did you get a Perfect Mountain?
No, hell no.
You picked Killing Them Softly.
I had Killing Them Softly instead of Untouchable.
I had 1, 2.
You had an Oscar, so let's not get too crazy.
But I had 3. Yeah. I had 3 of the 4. The only one that I didn't have is my number 4 was Oscar.
I was number 4. What's funny is I had 1, but it's Neri, like American Gangster. I'm surprised Neri didn't pick it. The Departed, I'm surprised nobody else picked it.
The Departed, I only didn't pick Departed because I made up a rule that I ended up breaking unknowingly. Anyways, I honestly, God, the first two movies that were on my list were Goodfellas and Departed. And then when I made the rest of my list, as I was talking to you guys, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna go with two Scorsese's because that's too easy. Like that's literally on
Oliver Stone. I knew none of them are Oliver Stone.
Well, hang on. In Neri's defense, Oliver Stone did write Scarface.
That's where my confusion has always come in.
So. Right. Go ahead and claim now, and Neri.
Yeah.
But it's fucking true. What the fuck? I literally. What do you just? I randomly threw out a fucking guy who had nothing to do with the fucking movie, and it ended up being right. That's what a fucking keg.
Right. I forgot. Yeah. Sorry, my bad. I forgot when you mentioned that when you made that mistake.
I just said I forgot. All I said was I thought that I always associate that movie with Oliver Stone, and for whatever reason.
What you actually said was that you associate Carlito's Way with Oliver Stone.
No. Scarface. Scarface is the one I attribute. Go back and listen to the episode, buddy. Go back and listen to the episode.
You're gonna edit it out. You're gonna edit it out like you always do.
You're gonna fix it.
I never.
It's gonna be like I think.
I do not. Anyway, thank you for checking out the What's Up Bro podcast. Thank you for checking out Mt.Geekmore. DeBona, glad to have you on. Sorry that you are going to be working from home, I guess. I don't know if I should be sorry or congratulating.
Don't be sorry, brother. I got a lot of great things going on. I'm now currently hosting virtual trivia at least once a week. I'm not getting paid for it, but to hell with it. It gives me something to do. Also, if you head over to Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at What You Got Show, you can watch me and my boy Nick eat bizarre things. We've got an episode out now called Hidden Gems, where Louis Essman from What's Good mixed a bunch of random things into chocolate, and we had to eat them and guess what he'd mixed in.
That's fantastic. You can also check it out at geekbro.net. Go to geekbro.net.
Absolutely.
It's also included on there, so make sure you guys check it out.
Look, from the bottom of my heart to anybody who listens to this, after the last episode came out and we went on the website, we got a decent bump. So I'm going to go ahead and attribute that to Geek Bro. I've been down with this network for forever. We all go way back. We've all done a bunch of podcasts together. I love these guys. There's no school in Alabama for the rest of the year, so I guess this is what I'm doing on Thursdays from now on.
Yeah, you guys have been. You guys haven't had school since 1947. What year was it? What year did you guys?
It's something like that. It was like when they started letting darkies into school.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ! Oh my God.
Damn it, he said it way worse than what I was going to say.
Too real.
I was going to say
Too real.
I was going to say integration, but sure, let's go with.
All right.
Anyway, I love you all, and I'm not at all racist. Head to whatyogotshow.com, and you will be linked straight to my YouTube channel. We've recently hit 100 subscribers, so we are on our way. I appreciate it.
So check out Geek Bro. Check them out at geekbro.net. Check out the other podcasts on the Geek Bro Network that I include, but not limited to, the What's Up Bro podcast, Comedy Fitness, The Layer, and Childlike at Best with Mike Valdez. So make sure you guys check that out, geekbro.net. Check out my Instagram.
Better Let Me Tell You is my new fucking...
Better Let Me Tell
You. How great are those guys?
Those guys are great.
Better Let Me Tell You is my new... That's my new... That's
Better Let Me Tell You, also found at geekbro.net. So make sure you guys check that out. Check out my Instagram. I'm trying to grow my Instagram, but everything else is at naryscience.com, or if you can't spell that, whatwashisname.com, and everything takes you on there. Throughout the quarantine, I'm doing daily Instagram live videos. So make sure you guys...
With Mike Mercandal the other day, go back and find it. Goddamn, Mike Mercandal, hilarious.
Yeah, I try to post them after they do a live video on Instagram. I try to save them and then repost them on my Instagram feed. So make sure you guys check that out. I don't get to repost all of them because sometimes they go a little too long for the reposting purposes. But anyways, whatwashisname.com. That's how lists are made. Thank you guys.